about the Flaming Lady. I would say not necessarily in particular. As far as Jinx goes at present, I would say like you're not necessarily looking in there, so you don't have necessarily other things to see. But if we kind of are assuming that you guys are all moving in there, I'll let you do a perception check like once you go in there. Um, and then, if Davros tries to step away or if Davros does something else, we can kind of see. But at present, in that kind of moment of Davros is almost in a different perceptive reality than the rest of the group right now, I think I'm going to leave it at you guys don't have any necessarily foreknowledge of her.
Yeah, and I can't recall if we kind of went over her description last session, but at least from where Davros is standing, obviously he's still a good distance away. Does she appear to be? I mean, she's on fire, but does she appear to be? I mean, essentially humanoid in appearance.
Yeah, effectively, she is indeed humanoid. As far as things go, I think these are 10-foot squares that you like see on the board. So you're still 50, 55 feet from her. This island of rock is floating 20 or 30 feet away from where you're standing, kind of thing. There's just a gap of air that you would fall 50 or so feet down to like the geode below you. So you're not immediately like present to her, but as far as everything goes, this would look like as if a like 30, 40-year old woman was burning alive. Only she doesn't seem to be like reacting to the flame as if it's, I don't know. I think most people within a conflagration would be consumed in pain, at least until their nerves were like burnt off. So yeah, maybe it seems like her nerves are already like burnt off, but she's still burning. She's still able to breathe. She seems to be functioning despite the fact that her whole body is consumed in fire.
Gotcha. And the people hanging from the chains. Do they are they clothed? Or is there any way to get any sort of sense of like do they look like they could be like well, I guess cultists we don't really know what they would wear, so um
So it doesn't necessarily say anything in particular about how things are like within the book about this. I don't think there's any reason to say that the people from the chains are in the nude, but she is portrayed as if she is effectively in the nude. So I think looking around, you would basically notice that there seems to be like ooh, I don't even know. I think there's three people who are still like wriggling, showing signs of moving or showing signs of screaming. Two of them are male and one's female. There's one other person who is hanging. It didn't really give them a gender, but they're also already dead. So I would say you basically see two women, two men. One of the women seems to be dead.
gotcha. Okay. And I guess so picking up when she speaks to Davros, he's kind of standing at the edge of this cliff. You said it's about 50 feet down, right? Does he I don't know, does he has he felt any and this may also be something I just missed from the last session, but does he has he felt like any sort of like compulsion or anything to move closer or head towards her? Or he's just kind of she's just spoken to him so far.
No more magical compulsion than necessarily somebody who already oddly knows you. She spoke to you by name is perhaps the only like compulsion. But no, there's no like wisdom save for you to make to see whether you're like drawn towards her. She is basically just like inviting you by name. I can't remember the exact words. I should have listened to it honestly. My apologies there. But I do know I was going for the idea that she was basically inviting you to feel the pleasures of the flesh, like to feel all of the glorious pain of sensation. And it's neither meant to be something like um that you would want, nor perhaps something that you would simply deny. Like it's definitely meant to be sort of a Hellraiser level of like, at first thought, the way it's like described, it's like the pleasures of the body. And most people think, oh, pleasures of the body are good. But then you kind of like get this like hindsight sensation of like, wait, that also includes pain. It's sensation. It's like feel all the glory of sensation, and this lady's like burning alive. I don't know. It's meant to be something that's more shocking than necessarily that you would feel drawn to like immediately attend to her.
Yeah, I remember thinking at the end of last session, like it was kind of left vague, like because like Davros was thinking like enjoy the sensations of pain or whatever she said, and it was like, does she mean giving pain or receiving pain? Like it, he's not really sure, but I think kind of you know picking up from there when she kind of speaks to that, I think Davros's first kind of like he kind of steps again like towards the edge of the cliff, trying to get like a better view of her, and he kind of like calls out across like, how do you know me?"
So let me just have a basic dexterity save. This is more to maintain your balance than necessarily you're gonna like fall off of this cliff. It's just kind of like, again, this is a place where your inner ear isn't necessarily functioning properly.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah, I remember. Yeah, kind of the feeling of kind of nausea, vertigo. So it's a 17 on the say deck save.
Gotcha. So as you kind of like step towards the edge of this cliff, you have like this weird sensation of like, as you're like directing this question towards her and you like say this, you like feel as if you've stepped your toes like over the edge of the cliff, and you can feel that first sign of like something's not underneath your boot, like at the tip of your toes. So you almost like pull yourself back. But in the moment of first feeling that, the room around you, the space before you almost seems to warp. And it's like the moment you try to ask her this question, it's almost as if she's like right in front of you. And you just have this weird sensation as if, like, that one step forward, you've almost stepped directly in front of her, but you pull yourself back away from the cliff as your toes feel this weird open air beneath you, and the sensation of falling comes across you and you want to pull back, and immediately your sensation like jumps back, and this like warping of what you're seeing in front of you goes back to like this weird vertigo feeling. She's 70 feet away from you again, and you're calling across this room again to her, but you just have that one moment of where you stepped forward, and it's almost as if you took that step, you would be right next to her. But it's just for that moment. It's just like this queasy moment. You almost like stumble in the moment, but you're back to it. You call out to her, "How do you know me?" And she just kind of turns to you, or her attention's still on you, but she just kind of like responds in like a calm, cool moment. "From the moment you've stepped into these halls, you were known to me as the first of your band. You've come as a sacrifice to this place. You come so willingly. How could you not be known to me?"
Uh, yeah, so Davros kind of, as that sort of weird sensation overcomes, and he might kind of like instinctively, almost kind of like as he steps back, kind of throws his hand out almost to try to like steady himself against the edge of the wall beside him, and then kind of hearing her words, um, kind of a little bit of a confused look kind of comes over his face, and he kind of gives a sort of fervent shake of his head, and like, come as no sacrifice. What are you talking about?
The tolling of the bell of destruction comes with all of us. We are all presented here Sacrifices to. And she kind of like reaches up her hand, and you see as like the flames are curling around her fingers, and they start to like kind of cool into a blue flame, and you see as the flame kind of like creeps away from her hand, as the blue like kind of starts to like crackle, and then you see as the flame kind of is like moving away further and further up her arm, as she's like creating almost like these icicles in the palm of her hand, and she just like throws this blast of cold towards the ceiling, and immediately, as this ice hits one of these crystals, her arm explodes in front of you. And that whole like section of her left arm just like crackles as if ice were exploded, like in extreme colds. It just explodes in shards and pieces. And immediately, like there's a black ooze and like ichor that starts to like bleed forth from her like uh amputated arm at this point, and it starts to form into this tentacle, and this tentacle is kind of growing larger, and she kind of like looks back to you. All of us have come to make sacrifices to the opener of the way.
So as this dialogue is like progressing, I think I would be like kind of like creeping up to see like who Davros is talking to, trying to get like closer, kind of like maybe peek around the corner, at least like get kind of in position.
Gotcha. So peeking around the corner, you're still gonna feel like a queasiness, but you're not inside there yet. So it's really more of a question as you guys actually like move in and maybe past what would be almost like a just like illusory barrier. Davros just seems kind of like standing there as if he's speaking to somebody. I would say you guys can hear him, but you don't necessarily know who he's speaking to. This is a dark room, almost like a I don't know, it could be just like a void of darkness in front of him, and he's just like standing at the edge of this precipice having this conversation at this point.
And is there any sense of like distortion in the sound, like, or can the others kind of hear pretty clearly at least what Davros is saying, or can they hear the responses from the and the speaking from the woman as well?
I feel like it's best to say, as far as Davros goes, it might feel like a little bit muffled, but it's perfectly fine to hear. They don't have any reason to pick up anything about the woman yet. So my question then kind of gets to like, how long do you allow Davros to kind of speak into the void before Jinx or Gale actually like kind of step through? When Terry steps through and Terry starts to kind of experience the same thing, does he like is he still remaining on that side of this odd barrier? Does he, because it should almost be shocking in itself just to step through the barrier. You go from like darkness and like this weird sensation to like you're almost like imbalanced. You almost feel like you're gonna lose your lunch. All of these colors in this geodescent like room open up in front of you, like just in an instant of kind of stepping through where like the wall should be in that hallway.
So I think Terry's pretty ballsy and not always the smartest. So I think he will step up to like Davros' side to like make sure that like he knows he's there, he's got his back, whatever. Jinx is still gonna kind of be like kind of slinking around the corner a little bit and trying to maybe get an eye on who Davros is talking to see if he like would recognize the other party. Obviously we've had some experience with the demons and everything, and neither of the other two is around for that. So just to try to see if this is who we're looking for. But maybe I would just like whisper to Davros also, Davros, you know better than to talk to strangers.
Yeah, so to confirm, you're still looking and you do not see the woman from outside until you specifically are stepping through that veil. You're just like he is speaking to darkness. It doesn't mean you can't assume that there's like a demon or something that's trying to entice it.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay back for now and kind of like attempt to be like persuading, like feeling to me like this is a distraction. This is not our destination.
Do you feel pretty comfortable with that idea as well, Gail?
Yeah, I think the only thing Gale would do, like different than that, is it would be move a bit forward, like not so he's like inside whatever like area they are, maybe
Gotcha.
like that, but just like trying to see like what, like if there is something that he can see from there, but like obviously not.
Let me have the two of you do Arcanas at disadvantage. So, Davros, as you see her kind of like describing we're all here for sacrifices, and she seems to almost like sacrifice her arm, what are you thinking in response to that?
So Davros, she kind of watches the, kind of this display by the woman in almost like a mix of kind of horror at seeing kind of her arm being amputated and then the kind of like the tentacle thing, and also somewhat almost like entranced by the kind of, not like in a, but he's kind of almost like he can't look away because it's so strange. Um, and I'm thinking he almost like kind of hears hears Jinx's kind of whisper almost as if it's coming from like a distance. It's like, um, but he just kind of like his head maybe turns a little bit just to like kind of like to sort of acknowledging that he's heard something from Jinx, and he kind of you'll maybe Jinx sees him, like he kind of looks up, so he glances up towards um the people hanging in chains, and he kind of almost like whispers back, kind of leave them like that. But then he looks towards the woman again, and he's not really sure how to respond actually.
All right, while you're thinking about, I want to clarify the people hanging from chains are from below the island. So, like, they're out of view, like, for her. The chains are from this island floating in front of you. So the people are hanging below you.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I gotcha. So
when
yeah,
you-
so looking down rather than
yeah. So when you look back at Jinx, though, you're going to like turn around and see like Jinx feels almost impossibly far away as you look back at him. You can see, there's no reason that you wouldn't like see Jinx is like leaned in, whispering, maybe like a hand cupped over his lips so nobody can read his lips. And he's whispering to you, I can't think what he said. You know better than to talk to strangers. You hear his whisper as if he's right there. But Jinx is impossibly far away. You know you took one step, two steps in when you got to the cliff's edge, but when you look back, it's like Jinx is 100 feet away. And you see him whispering. But again, it's this sensation of like this is non-Euclidean geometry is what I'm kind of getting to here. Your presence where you're at, and Davros may not understand this. He has no necessary reason to understand sort of the magic or the physics of this place. But you do know that you took two steps, and yet Jinx is like 100 feet away from you. You had that sensation with her in front of you. That's part of like the queasiness of this place is like how that sensation of like what you hear differs from what you see.
Yeah, I was actually almost thinking like Davros doesn't actually even like look behind him because he just assumes that he can kind of hear Jinx whispering his ear, so he kind of just like he turns his head like a little bit, but not so much, not to actually kind of look behind him, just like almost like whisper back because he just again assumes Jinx is essentially like right behind him. so he might not even notice this yet. This sort of weird distortion in the distance, like between him and Jinx versus
Gotcha. It might still catch your peripherals, but that's legitimate as well too. Like your attention can easily be drawn, towards this woman, towards the screaming people. So, as you're kind of thinking about how you sort of respond to her, like, you don't necessarily have to even respond to her. There's plenty of reasons to be almost grossed out by what she just did. What did you two roll for those Arcana checks?
Gale got a 23.
On mine is 6.
And that was a disadvantage?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's disadvantage.
Note to self, don't even make the wizard roll Arcanas, just give him information.
what do you got, like a plus 14 at this point, Gale, right?
Sounds about right.
Nah, not that bad. Just plus 11.
It's like the rogues natural talent where you can't roll less than like 10 plus whatever your thing is.
So, as you're kind of approaching this, at very least, Gale can kind of like start to notice that there is a distortive energy here. I think you might appreciate it as some sort of illusion, but it would be confusing to think of it as illusory magic. So I think Gale can appreciate that, like, there's more to stepping through this darkness to moving to where those two are than simply stepping through like normal space. Um, don't necessarily need to give you a whole lot more because you're also hearing sort of where these other two are. But from Gale's perspective, I think it is perfectly fine for him to basically recognize there's something like an illusion, but it's far more real. I think in a place of chaos energy, you can kind of understand like this might be like almost like a chaotic pocket universe. It may be it's not quite a pocket universe, but it's close. So Gales can kind of like appreciate like that little bit of recognizing what that area of space immediately in front of him is there. If you come not for the sacrifice, and you come so willingly to these halls, what brings you here? Why do you delve so deep into the dangers of that which you do not understand?
Davros is again not really sure how to respond to that. He kind of part of him almost wishes that like he wasn't kind of here on his own. I guess maybe I guess he can maybe see Terry beside him at this point as Terry stepped through kind of next to him up here.
Yeah, as far as an MP the room, oh my bad, I don't think I was holding down the button very well. As far as an NPC goes, like stepping into the room, you can definitely have the confidence of like somebody's here with you. You're not alone. But you definitely kind of like look down and like Terry's not necessarily offering any assistance so much as it's just somebody else at present. Terry might be completely kind of consumed in just the reality being misshapen in this place. So he's close to kind of catatonic almost at this point.
Yeah, so I think Davros is going to kind of like he's looking towards the woman as she kind of speaks this stuff, and I think he's going to and then like as he's responding, like he's still kind of like aside from that one moment where he stepped forward and he seemed to be right in front of her, he's kind of he's almost like not shouting but like speaking more loudly than he probably would if someone was kind of standing right beside him. And I think he's going to say, uh, prefer to have this conversation face to face. And you'll kind of see if like his one leg is going to kind of get moved back and almost like kind of bend as if he's um, preparing to almost kind of like take like a little bit of a leap. Um, and I think he's going to try to essentially like not really sure what's come over him, but he kind of like tries to almost like leap forward, and even though it's it's looks like it's much more of a distance than he'd be able to cover with a sort of like or even with a running start, he's going to essentially try to like kind of spring off of that foot and sort of try to like close the distance over to the other side onto the island.
Gotcha. Let me have you roll a strength check, please.
Sure. That will be an 8. It's just straight strength, right? Not athletics.
Oh, my bad. What would your athletics be? Like a 15?
No, just +3 from that, so it'd be an 11.
All right. So when you like push off to leap across this chasm and kind of like are saying basically like, you know, be much more comfortable to have this conversation face to face with you. Uh you like push off, the room kind of warps in a very similar way again, where by the time you like realize what you're doing, you've like almost like taken a step right onto the island and almost like leapt off the other side of the island. So you're like aiming. Can't ping in this one. Let me see. You're aiming for 20 feet directly in front of you, like the closest point in the island there, and you're landing almost on the other edge of the island, as if in like baseball where you can't like overrun the base, like you're like sliding up to the edge trying to stop your momentum by the time you like realize like what has happened with your leap. The room again kind of like almost collapses and almost like extends back into normal space, like as you kind of like make this leap. It's very kind of hard to explain, but it's very much kind of like the trope of like the serial killer in like horror movies. You're like running full speed and they're like always sauntering and yet they're always right behind you.
Yeah, no, yeah, kind of like he was, oh yeah, definitely kind of aiming just for the far, the closer edge, and then he kind of, yeah, because yeah, and I used to play baseball, so yeah, oversliding the base. That's a good metaphor, yeah. So he kind of, so as he kind of sort of regains his balance, and I assume kind of like the vertigo is still sort of like because the whole distort spatial distortion. Um, but because as he finds himself on this kind of island now, he looks towards the kind of the woman again, and this time he's going to say, "You know me, you have a loss. What are you called?"
Yeah, she'll kind of do like a little bit of a bow where she almost like sweeps like this tentacled arm sort of underneath her torso. Her right arm kind of swings back and like it brings, the flame with it. Sort of all but the tentacle is kind of like burning at this point. And she kind of like bows over into like a curtsy with her legs and the whole time kind of maintaining eye contact with you. She goes into this bow and Eladris of the Tolling Bell. It's my pleasure for you to join us. And as she kind of like stands back into her like full height, her right arm is kind of like with the join us, kind of like almost like beckoning you towards like stepping onto the altar sort of thing. Like she's basically swinging her right arm like across the altar as if like, hey, welcome, this is where you're supposed to be.
And from where I'm kind of standing here, like, can I feel? There's like, can I feel like the actual like heat kind of coming off of her? Like, does it seem like she's actually on fire, or do I get any sense of like do I feel? I guess I kind of like I guess do I feel the heat kind of coming off of her?
I think so. I think there would be maybe at least like sort of the like Doppler effect of the heat as you like made the leap. Um, you're kind of like, what is that, like say 15 or so feet with how that gap is right now. But I feel like you would still feel the heat of that. As far as Davros is concerned, this seems to be a normal fire, as if you were 10, 15 feet away from your forge. Like, I think it would feel pretty normal to kind of be around heat like this.
Okay, yeah, I was just thinking like I'm not really sure like how far sort of this heat would travel because it's not a huge fire, right? Because he's just got flames. But like, I guess another question would be like, does he like, I don't know, does he like? Because I assume like by now, given all the adventure, he kind of knows what burning flesh smells like. Like, does he get any sort of sense of like a stench in the air like that?
The smell of this place stinks of rot. You do not smell the smell of burning flesh. Um, her hair, yeah, I think it's right to say her hair is not burning, like she's not bald from her hair being burnt off. Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to describe it. But you can smell the stench of decay and gore. Like the people who are kind of like impaled on those chains are below you. This room would smell horrible, but it doesn't smell like burning flesh.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So I think as she, introduces herself,
If I may,
Davros.
actually,
Oh yeah. Go ahead. Yep.
let me just jump back to the others because that's still, say, like a few moments of like 6, 12 seconds. But the others would at least notice, like, Davros basically like leapt off into the void and disappeared from your sight. Uh, Jinx and Gale, how are you two interacting with this on the outside of the veil?
So like, let me just get this straight. So he's on sort of like the other side of what appears to be like a kind of like distorting portal, or he's still on our side of it, and then all of a sudden he just like sort of disappears.
Yeah, you guys could basically see him while he was still on the cliff's edge. But the moment he kind of moved away from that, he just kind of disappeared into the darkness. That is otherwise like a black void where even Terry is like shrouded. It's weird looking at Terry across this veil. Um, but like the moment Davros leapt, he just like disappeared from view.
So Jinx is just gonna look straight over to Gale and say, "Oh shit, that's not good." And I'm gonna move forward at first a little bit cautiously, but like trying to see like what the hell is going on here.
Do you kind of follow in there, Gail?
Yeah, I mean, seeing Davros disappear like that, he is probably thinking the worst. What with him speaking to someone and then just disappearing. So yeah, he's definitely going in as well.
Gotcha. And that's enough for me to say, what were you thinking now, Davros? My bad. I don't want to like leave them out, so I'm trying to make the jump. It's definitely weird acting like the party is split across the same board.
Oh no, you're good. Yeah, I think no. All I was going to say is Davros is going to kind of like start moving closer towards her. He probably has a hand on. He's still looking or not reaching for a weapon, but he looked kind of still sort of jumpy, wary. Um, but he's going to kind of like start moving closer towards her. But yeah, no, I definitely want to have don't want to give the others definitely chance to respond and stuff.
Yeah, she doesn't seem to be reacting to you moving closer to her, so like closing that ground is perfectly fine. For the two of you, like as you kind of approach, you basically see Davros, about that like 60 or 70 feet away. He's approaching this woman who's on fire. They're on the other side of this altar. That whole island floating in front of you is like spiked with like stalagmites kind of coming off on it in all directions. There's again those four people hanging from the chains below it. The geodes are like pulsing with power and color all around this whole area.
So I guess I'm just gonna say over to Gale, dear God, I don't think I can make that jump.
Yeah, I mean, not to look down on Davros, but how did he make it? I mean, maybe it had something to do with the weird energy here, but yeah, no. It's got to be some way over.
And I can see him now from where we're at.
Indeed, yes.
So I'll try to call out to him too. Davros, maybe we should keep moving, buddy.
Your friends beckon you, and yet you're drawn, torn between two places, torn between two choices, one of power, one of control, and the other feels so normal to waste away, to be like all of the others. Choose the power.
And
Her attention is entirely for you here, Davros. Like she like answers like on some level in reply to Jinx yelling to you, but she never like looks away from you to like see that Jinx and them are now here.
gotcha. And does Davros hear like Jinx's calls like normal?
Oh yeah, as far as things kind of go, like inside of this space, you can look over. They seem about 70 or so feet away from you still. You can hear him normal. The weird level of like reality warping isn't necessarily something that's happening constantly. You notice it definitely more between the veil, and then for Davros specifically, like as you were kind of moving through this place.
Gotcha. So Davros kind of he looks towards Jinx as he hears Jinx kind of calling to him. Um, but he kind of like it's very kind of like a momentary glimpse before his kind of attention is drawn back to the woman Eladris. Um, and I think I don't know. He's gonna kind of like he looks towards her and kind of like hears her, not ultimatum, but it almost sounds like an offer to him. Um, but he's kind of like he's gonna glance. I don't know from where he is. He probably can no longer see the folks on the below on the chains, but he knows that they're there, and he kind of looks towards the woman and says and maybe like almost like kind of gestures with one arm. Um, and who are they? Ones who refused your offer.
They are the rabble of decay. Not all are given offers for the power of those from outside this place. The opener of the way offers you his power. Now, grasp at it. Take what is yours. Open the gateway.
And is she speaking this like can the others hear what she's saying at this point? I just want to give them a chance to respond before.
They can see that she's speaking to you. Let me get perception checks from the two of you to see if it's enough that you can kind of gather. But I would say it's probably unlikely that either of you can perceive this. What's that 16 add up to?
That is a 19.
So let's go for the idea that Gale can't necessarily understand what she's saying. He can gather from kind of like body language that she's like enticing you. Um I'm trying to think of like the idea of like a succubus almost, the way somebody is not like romancing you, but like almost like damn, why can't I think of the word? But Gail can basically pick up that like whatever she's saying, she's weaving something beyond just normal words. It's not necessarily that she's casting a spell over you, but it's definitely one of those things where it's just like this person's trying to focus your attention and they are trying to get you to do something that you might not want to be doing. And that's kind of what I think Gale is probably most likely to be picking up here. Jinx can basically tell, on the same level, like she's not even focused on them. There's a woman burning on fire, and she seems to have like this calm, extreme focus on Davros.
I think what Gale's picking up from that is just like, oh, yeah, he's gonna shout out loud just to make sure that Darius can hear him. Um, Something like, don't don't even talk to her. Just come back here.
So Davros is gonna he hears that and he's gonna look towards the woman again and is this a one-time offer?
The gateways between are everywhere. Your choices will always bring you back here. Whether it need be this place or some other gateway, some other place. You. And she'll turn and make eye contact with the other two or the other three kind of across the way. And all of you kind of feel like this almost sensation of like she's staring directly at you. You have a touch of destiny about you. You will open the way.
Yeah, we get that a lot. I'm done opening things, at least for today, though.
And I'm thinking like as she sort of like even just momentarily kind of turns her attention towards the others, like it's almost like a little bit of the, almost like entrancement kind of Davros is feeling kind of secede, kind of recedes for a bit. And he kind of like shakes his head and he's thinking of what she said. And I think now his hand is going to go towards his weapon and he's going to kind of shake his head again, like angrily, and whatever's on the other side can stay there. Essentially, like saying, like I'm not going to take your offer, kind of thing.
Do you draw your weapon? Or right now you're just refusing it, sort of hand on the weapon?
I think he's thinking like maybe she's doing something to help open the gateway, so I think he is going to go to draw his weapon. Yes.
Gotcha. Let me have Yeah, let me have everybody roll initiative here.
I feel like this is not a smart thing that Davros is doing, but it's in keeping with what he would do. So
Yeah, let's see. Gale got a 6 total.
Solid.
Jinx on 10.
and 18 for Davros.
Gotcha. So as you draw your weapon, what would you like to be doing, Davros?
I think he's just going to kind of draw his weapon, kind of stepping up to her again, kind of like, almost like as he sort of like, as the attention kind of shifts away from him, it's almost like he kind of like just gives him a moment to kind of, his like thoughts almost go a little more clear headed, at least to him. And I think he's just going to go and swing at, drawing his great sword from kind of behind his back. He's going to go and swing twice at Eladris.
Excellent. Roll those attacks, please.
All right, I am going to use my inspiration to give advantage on the first one. Be a 24
24 is a solid strike.
for 12. I think the second one's going to miss with a 10.
Gotcha. So as you strike into her, you think this is like pulling your sword from your back, like drawing it down, like high guard, like across her chest kind of thing?
Yeah, that's kind of exactly what I had in mind. Yeah.
Gotcha. So as you slice like down her like shoulder and kind of like across her torso, you're basically going to see is like these flames kind of like give way and her chest starts to split. And you see like this ineffable darkness within this fire. And it's almost as if like this split in her body is sort of like an eye, how it like splits wider towards the center and it's like narrower towards the edges of where your blade cut across her, and you're just like looking into this like eternal darkness inside of her. And as she kind of like starts to react to this like cut, you just start to see as she's like laughing at you, and she just goes into this like cackle, and you just start to notice this like deep red, and this orb seems to just be kind of getting larger, and then there's like 2, and then there's 3, and all of a sudden you start to just notice there's some sort of darkness inside of her, and there's some sort of like uh amalgamation of these dark red splotches, and they like start to appear more and more inside of this darkness, and then you start to notice there's like innumerable of them, and just then they're starting to grow lesser and lesser. As they're getting larger and larger, you start to notice that they're almost like red snake-like eyeballs sort of looking back at you, and the whole time she's just laughing. She is going to like raise her left hand, that tentacle, up above her head, and it is just going to like slap into you. And I need you to make a, I believe, wisdom saving.
Sure. And if it makes a difference, actually just add 1 to that damage. I forgot about the magical damage. So
Excellent.
13 total.
Sounds good. Yeah, wisdom saving throw is correct.
That's a failure. That's a 3.
All right, so you guys basically see from the side as this tentacle like wraps around him. As soon as it touches Davros's muscles, just go limp. She's effectively paralyzing you with this touch, and Davros just kind of stops fighting her. At the end of each of your turns, you can repeat that save, but at present you are paralyzed with Davros. And that'll take us to Jinx.
Okay, so I saw her basically hit him, and then he like just goes like limp, basically. Can I recognize this as like a charm type thing, or is that too much to ask?
Do you have hold person? I think I've seen you using hold person.
Yeah, I have hold person. What I'm thinking
I
is,
think it's enough for you to say, like, you may not understand what she's doing, but effectively she's doing the same type of thing. So I think, yeah, you can understand that she is effectively charming him in some way. To what effect is a different thing entirely.
okay, so I'm gonna just say, old Bod saying is, never trust a person that's on fire. And I'm gonna do my action for counter charm. Oh man, that might not work. I think I have to be within 30 feet. So I don't know how the actual like map and distance is gonna work here, but I'm gonna try counter charm. So it's just within 30 feet, everybody, um, all the friendly creatures gain advantage on saving throws against being frightened or charmed.
Gotcha. So from where you're at, you do at least recognize that you're beyond 30 feet. You don't necessarily understand or feel the true meaning of like this place is non-Euclidean. So at present, like looking across to where they are, they're well beyond your 30 feet. You can heroic people have the ability to leap that far. Running and jumping is much easier to go that far. Do you want to try to like either high jump or running jump that gap before you try this?
Well, it's just like an effect I think that's like around me basically, so I don't think the order matters as much. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and back up like 10 feet to the wall, and then I'm just like whether I have my gloves on or not, I'm going to maybe like free action put on my gloves if I don't. I would imagine I'm probably wearing them. But I'm going to back up to the wall and then I'm gonna run and try to jump to the platform.
All right, so you need 10 feet to get your full like running jump. So you would only have to step like 5 feet back to get your full 10 feet, right? Would you have to step 10 feet back? I guess you kind of have to step 10 feet back. That's kind of a weird thing. What do you guys think about that? Do you need to be in the 15th foot to run 10 feet to the edge? I think that sounds right.
Yeah, that sounds right. So I'll use 20 feet backing up and then running forward, and then I'll like maybe with my next like 10 feet, just kind of close the distance a bit if I make it.
Gotcha. All right. They're getting home right now. The dog's gonna be barking like crazy. How about if we take a break real quick and then we rejoin this?
Okay, cool. That
Sure.
sounds good.
All right,
Yeah.
I'll be back in a couple of minutes.
And apologies in advance, everyone, if I get all of us killed.
Oh no, it's always a gamble. I think that's part of the game.
Yeah, I mean, there's no worries there.
I mean, the fact that we haven't gotten in over our heads at least once by now, like summoning a demon, hanging out with demons, like all that. I mean, it was just a matter of time. It was how deep do we get before it hits the fan?
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking like we've already let so many bad things out. Like we need to try and even things up a bit. But I think yeah, Davros in a tough spot here. But yeah, I'll be back in a couple minutes.
All right.
Yeah, I'm here as well. My bad.
All right, excellent. So we were midway through you jumping, Jinx. So let's see. You're gonna step back 10 feet, run forward. So you're like 20 foot in when you jump. Let me have you make a athletics here.
Okay, so I want to see. Can I go for like I want to go for like more of like a dive, like an acrobatics. Like if I was like gonna fall short, I would have like my hands out in front of me to like try to grab hold with the
Gotcha.
gloves.
Go for
If
acrobatics and like potentially like trying to like swing up on one of the chains that's on the side and see if you can like use that like momentum to like fling yourself up onto the edge.
yeah, that sounds good. And then if I make it, maybe I'll like do like a little tuck and roll.
And then if you fail, like your gloves, you can like attach them to the chain and like you can't fall. I think that's the idea of what you're kind of going for.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so I got a 9.
Gotcha. So you are going to basically be like stepping back. You like step outside of this veil. You know what's in front of you, so you're like trying to kind of prepare you for this. Running forward, I want you to make. I did this probably the wrong way. A dexterity check. I don't remember if I said saving throw for Davros.
Well, it's a 9. It's a
Do you have
12 if it's a
proficiency in dex saves?
it's a 12 if it's just a regular dexterity check, but I have another 3 if it's a saving throw. So it would be a 15 for a saving throw.
Gotcha. I don't think that's a big difference regardless though. So yeah, so you're going to like step back behind the veil and you're kind of like prepared for this moment, like running forward. But as you kind of like push into this area and you go to prepare to sort of leap over and you're kind of like aiming for one of these chains that you see hanging down for this, as you leap, you are stepping off into this void and there's that moment where you just kind of like almost are falling and you are pushing off. Your hands are on this chain like way too soon in the sensation of like leaping across, and you're just kind of finding yourself like swinging up onto the rock how you sort of expected to, but you don't let go, and you're just basically prone on the edge of the like rock face, kind of like over here, basically. So I would say, um, that's gonna leave you with too little movement to stand up because you basically only have 10 feet of movement, which is to say, as somebody who's prone, you could crawl 5 feet from where you are, but effectively you are stuck in the prone position for this turn, unless you basically took the dash action to like move faster, where you could actually burn half of that 15 feet to stand.
Okay, no, we'll say I'm using my action for the counter charm, and then I'll just go for a crawl, like a
That's what I
couple
was
more feet.
expecting is, yeah, you were going for the counter charm. So you can crawl, say like a little bit closer. What would be the 5 foot? It's probably that one. So you can crawl a little bit closer to Davros as you're like calling out this counter charm. I think you already said the words to it. Was there's an old bard saying, "Never trust somebody on fire."
Yeah, and then I will for my bonus action finish up with I'm gonna give Bardic Inspiration. Damn, do I give it to Chris to help him get across, or do I give it to Davros? Well, I'm gonna go for Davros to try to get him help to get unfrozen. So I'll just like one more time like call out to him. Say, fight it, Davros. Don't trust what she's saying to you.
So that will break the charm, and you can give him bardic inspiration. So when you want Davros, you've got, I believe, a D8 currently, and then we're gonna go to Chris or to Gale.
Oh wait, I don't think it actually breaks the charm though.
Oh,
He,
isn't your
he just
counter charm? Oh,
Yeah,
it's like
you just
advantage.
gain advantage on saving throws against the frightening and charming.
Alrighty. So yeah, so at the end of his turn, he'll have advantage then, and then if he needs to, also um bardic inspiration. So theoretically, you'll lose one turn, but only that one turn because with those two, you should be able to guarantee it. And then we'll go for Gale. What would you like to do?
Yeah, Gale isn't gonna really take a chance jumping over, so. But he is gonna use something he hasn't used in a while. Gonna manifest, what is it? Manifest Mind, his like spectral spell book. and have it hover like. Not sure how would that work with the distortion, but try to get it so it's hovering like at the edge of the island, like close to him.
Gotcha. Is it like 30 feet from you, or what's the distance for Manifest Mind?
I can manifest it within like 60 feet of me.
Gotcha. So yeah, if you wanted it on the close edge of the island, that is perfectly fine.
And then not probably just gonna start up with a firebolt that is changed into like a lightning bolt that it just because that woman is on fire and she doesn't seem to be hurting from it, so don't want to hit her with fire.
Gotcha. And you're gonna do lightning.
Yeah, lightning damage.
So no need to roll to hit. Can I have you roll for damage, please?
That is 5 lightning damage.
All right. So the moment you release this spell, and it's from your spell book, I assume. The moment you release this spell, Gale, the actual person, is going to feel a shock, and you will take 5 lightning damage. The spell never seems to manifest from your spellbook.
Okay, yeah, that isn't good.
I don't know. Does Manifest Mind take a bonus action? Like, are you kind of out of action economy? Do you have any interest in moving?
It's a bonus action to manifest my mind, and I'm just at the moment I'm gonna stay where I am.
Gotcha. So theoretically, I kind of skipped over Terry here. We can kind of bring in the sidekicks here, but in the long run, what do you guys thinking the sidekicks are kind of doing here?
Yeah, Terry's gonna recklessly run and jump.
Gotcha. Let me just get a dexterity check and then a strength check. Just roll 2d20 from Terry.
So first one is 6 for dexterity and 12 for strength, and I think he's proficient with strength.
Gotcha. Yeah. So yeah, Terry pretty much is going to end up what kind of like, I think probably stumbling over the edge and just kind of catching himself. Let's just kind of go with the idea that Terry almost like catches himself like as he's like, instead of like stumbling into the void, he's just sort of getting kind of caught up in like the um like vertigo, and almost doing like a pull up to kind of get back up onto the cliff face. What do we got going on with what is that, Seamus? What do you think Seamus is doing there, Davros?
Yeah, I think Seamus has kind of he's been holding back, so he's not really sure what's going on. So he's gonna move up towards the edge. He's gonna look towards Gale and probably sees Gale kind of moving his hands around to, he knows he's casting a spell or something. But I guess he can see Davros and Jinx and everything on the other side. So I think he is going to
Well, again, from the side of the veil, they basically can only see Gale and Terry.
Oh, right. All right, so he's going to move up kind of beside Gale.
Gotcha.
And I guess, and then I guess at that point, kind of he sees through. He's not really sure what's going on. I think he is going to um, kind of move back. I think he's going to use his dash to make sure he has enough movement. To essentially, he's going to kind of like move back towards the edge of the cliff and then go and try to jump across.
All right, sounds good. Let me do the same. Let me just do a dexterity, then a strength. Acrobatics is perfectly fine too, as well. Athletics or acrobatics.
All right. So 9. I think he's
He
proficient
should
in
be
acrobatics.
dexterous. Okay, gotcha. That 9 though was the first one, or was that the second one?
That was the first one. That was for
Gotcha.
dexterity.
Yeah, he should be fine dexterity wise to kind of maintain his balance. Yeah, and a 14's good to actually make the leap. So you might find kind of the type of thing where like he's going to make this jump and like he's looking to kind of like swing off of one of these spikes to kind of like leap onto the island, but almost basically clearing the island anyways to get to the spike. And he finds like as he's like swinging on the spike, it's like a spike on the other side of the island. Like if he were to leap off of it, how he was already kind of planning, he would be leaping off into the other side of the void. So again, like kind of that way, like when they're actually starting to move forward, you're moving much faster than you actually would have thought. And then, so assuming that's taking like most of his movement, maybe he's got a little bit more to go. Oh, you already said he's dashing, but that's potentially his bonus action. I don't think those sidekicks actually have the rogues like normal dash. But does that sound right that that's his turn? And we'll go
Yeah,
to Bob.
Yeah, I was essentially thinking it would take his action and his movement and his action was to dash. Yeah.
Excellent. I think it's actually Bill, my bad. So what would you like to do with Bill?
I think Bill will just join in on that terrace. And seeing all this going on, yeah, I think he will like try to take a shot at her. Not sure he would have seen like Gale getting hurt by his own magic to like reflect on that, so he's just gonna shoot at her.
Gotcha. First arrow was gonna miss. He has Hunter's Mark. You're gonna bonus action Hunter's Mark before you shoot.
Oh yeah, I actually forgot about that.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
So
will.
Hunter's marking her, and then your second shot. What's that one? That should be a hit. Roll for damage on that second one.
So that's 9 damage.
Excellent. Yeah, and what's a Neffy gonna do? Alrighty. Yeah, so Neffy's pretty much going to be kind of like pushing forward. And she's just gonna like approaching the edge of the cliff when she goes through, just curls over and she is vomiting at the edge. Like the moment she kind of moves forward to it, she just kind of like crumbles herself away from it, and does not actually make any real forward progress onto or towards that island. And that will take us back to Davros. You've cut into her, you've seen this great void and these eyes. What are you doing now?
Well, Davros is paralyzed.
Oh yeah, my bad. You go straight to the end of it. So that should have been it. Was that your save? It should then be an advantage
Oh, okay.
because of the counter charm. Yeah, so the 18, I think you can probably rest pretty sure that you don't need to use the Bardic Inspiration versus that 18.
Yeah, that's a 19 with his +1. I'm gonna hope that 19 is enough.
Gotcha. Yeah, so that will break the charm, but sadly that is at the end of his turn. What do you want to do with Seamus here?
So Seamus, I think, is going to seeing probably her, like as he kind of lands here, gets his bearings, probably her tentacles still kind of wrapped around Davros. He is going to run forward and I think just stab out at her. And do the psych I can't remember. Do the psychics get 2 attacks or just oh no, he's a rogue, so he just gets 1 anyway. Should be a 25 to hit.
Fish for. Oh wait, no, I don't do advantage on that, but he gets a sneak attack. Solid hit though. Oh wait, his sneak attack is actually one of his attacks on the sidekick thing, I think.
Yeah, I think he just gets 2d6 plus 2 on a normal hit.
Sounds good.
Ooh. So 5.
What shite.
Glancing blow.
Gotcha. So maybe it's a little bit distracting as he steps forward to see this like infinite of like void and these red eyes kind of moving closer and closer to her like burning flesh right before him as he stabs in. It is effective, but just not terribly so. Let's see. She is going to reach out and with her remaining arm start to kind of like weave this like red and blue sort of like burning like orbs almost kind of like between her fingers, just like one kind of almost like a two stars as they kind of like orbit one another, the way like their trails kind of like follow in like these weird concentric circles. But she kind of like starts to weave these two orbs, like one almost like an ice, one almost like a burning ball, between her like the palm of her right hand. And as she starts to like weave this like circle, the tails get longer and longer until she kind of like slams it down into the plinth of this altar, and the altar starts to like crack, and you're just going to see as like one arm and then another kind of start to come from this crack, the altar kind of separating further and further, before you see that like two creatures are going to start to crawl out of this altar. And I rolled like dog doo doo. It's gonna go to Jinx as she basically does this. What would you like to do?
So she basically like summons up like creatures. Is that what happened?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and my owlbear crash.
Okay, so I'm gonna use half my movement to stand up, and then I'm gonna hit her with a vicious mockery for my action, which is Wisdom 16.
Excellent.
And I'm just gonna say, "Keep your dirty tentacle to yourself."
And how much damage is that doing?
That's gonna be 5 total damage. And then I'll just use the rest of my movement to kind of like get into like combat area, out of like away from the edge.
Vicious mockery is psychic damage, right?
It is in fact psychic, yes.
All right.
And then I guess
Go ahead. What were you saying?
if I'm done, then I'm gonna use Terry's gonna try to get across again, whatever he's got to do, climb back up, and then go for a running jump again, maybe.
Gotcha. Yeah, I have a feeling. Um, Yeah, I should have him do it again. Just do the same thing again, basically. Dexterity, yeah, solid, and then strength, he pretty much can't fail. Yeah, so same kind of idea. He's kind of like leaping across, well, and by the time he's like making this leap, he's finding he's actually trying to stop himself from like flying off the other edge.
And does he have any movement left after that, or is that pretty much it?
Um, yeah, he's probably got 10, 15. He could easily get into combat.
Okay, he'll run up and do a attack against the flaming lady.
Excellent.
Oh, you know what? Actually, he's gonna do one of his special attacks. So I'm gonna have him do the command. So he's gonna attack, and then he's gonna have Davros attack too. So his should be like a 19, I think it is.
Solid hit.
And it should be for a total of 9 magic damage.
And Davros had a 26, I think, to hit for
Solid hit.
10 damage.
Excellent. So Davros, when you hit again, like striking into this same wound that you've like already opened up into her, you like separate her torso from this like black void, and the lower half of her body remains standing there. There is this gap inside of it where you would expect to see organs and some sort of internal mass of somebody. And there is just this odd black void that kind of fills this space. And these eyes are just getting ever larger and ever larger. Her upper torso, her head, her arm, that tentacle have fallen down to the ground, but this lower part of her torso is still just kind of standing. And it's, I don't know, like an oblong oval almost, where you're just kind of like almost staring into space and this darkness, and these red eyes are just getting closer and closer. And more of them are kind of disappearing as they get closer and larger. Um, that should take us to Gale.
Yeah, and I'm gonna trial and error myself here and shoot from Gale himself. Try same thing as before, but not from his spellbook, but from himself.
Gotcha. Firebolt as lightning
Yeah, see if I hit myself again.
at the torso,
Yep.
or my bad, at the legs. I gotcha. You do not need to roll the hit. Can you please roll for damage?
9.
So you will do 9 lightning damage to yourself this time. As you go to weave the spell, the moment you kind of release the words of command, you feel the shock go through your body. By now, I think Gale should understand that at very least, lightning inside of this room is not something you should be dabbling with.
Yeah, it was one or the other.
There is some level of, I don't remember specifically if you can use psychic damage. I know you can manipulate your damages to a lot of other kinds. I don't remember whether you're limited to elemental or not. But I think you would know on some level, like Jinx operates with psychic, and you saw him use cutting words. So I think that's one of those things to kind of recognize, perhaps, where you're almost like, all right, maybe it's elemental damage, maybe it's just lightning. Uh, so, what would you like to do with Bill?
Well, he knows he can shoot at least, so he's gonna put 2 arrows into her again. Hopefully hit both. So yeah, that's
What would the 8 be? What's the lower of those?
yeah, I was checking it. That's we have +7 to hit right now, right? Or am I?
I think +7 sounds about right, but he also has a +2 from everybody who's essentially flanking, so he should have a +9 then. So 17. That should be a hit.
Okay, yeah. So then 2 hits. Let's see. Oh, just gonna check because I always forget. Hunter's Mark only hits once, right?
I don't know offhand if Hunter's Mark says once per turn. Give me 1 second to bring it up in my note.
I believe it's once per turn.
Right, that it's like sneak attack.
Yeah, because I play a ranger in another game, and yeah, I'm pretty sure it's once per turn. Like the first time on a turn you hit an attack, you can use it.
Actually,
Whenever you hit it with a weapon attack.
Oh, okay. Maybe it's everything else that the ranger can do.
Oh,
yeah, okay.
and okay, yeah, yep.
yeah, because I think.
Um,
Oh, sorry.
no, you're good.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's the other Tasha's thing that they get that works like the Hunter's Mark, but there's like their class thing. Get
Yeah, I
like
don't think they have to use a spell for that Tasha's one. And then I was thinking also all of the like Xanathar's rangers have like once per turn procs that they deal extra damage on. So it's definitely part of where rangers have a whole lot of shit, and a lot of them function very similarly. But yeah, so Hunter's Mark you can do both times. I'm not gonna lie though, she is currently dead. So the damage, these arrows just kind of sink into the flesh, and are just sort of like still standing there burning. As you guys are basically going to notice, he's got no reason to jump, so you're probably good on Bill, right?
Yep.
Gotcha. So one of these creatures that came out of the stonework isn't going to be doing anything. It is quite literally just standing absolutely still like a statue. The other one is going to, let's see, is going to reach out to attack Seamus. 14 to hit Seamus.
That'll hit. Yep.
And just do a save versus 10. Gotcha.
He's a
So it just like strikes out at him, just like basically like a bare knuckle attack kind of thing. It's just like reaching out with this like vaguely humanoid hand. These are just sort of creatures of darkness. Most, if anything, that kind of gives them any sort of look seems to almost be the stone that they kind of came out of. So they would almost appear to kind of be like stone golems of sort here. But the one of them seems to be just sort of standing still as a statue. The other one kind of moves out to strike at Seamus, and you guys just kind of see this torso of this burning lady is still just standing there. Before Davros takes his turn, you guys all kind of hear, like at this point, this loud, resounding, low bass of a ringing bell. And I think Gale, I didn't do anything with Neffy, but Gale, Neff, and Bill would be the ones to basically recognize that this whole island is sort of like shifting, and like the base of it is almost like moving from side to side, sort of creating this almost like ringing sensation that's kind of going through this whole area. And I need everybody to make a wisdom saving throw, please.
That's an 8
Alright.
for Gale.
I'm gonna use my bardic inspiration on that if I can.
Of course. I think his
Alright.
bardic is an 8 right now. Yeah, okay.
Yep. So it's a 19 total then with the bardic inspiration.
Gotcha. Did you guys also roll 4 sidekicks?
Jinx definitely failed. I got a 2, and then 14 for Terry.
Gotcha. Both
Yeah.
of those will fail.
And a straight 11 for Seamus, so he fails as well.
Seamus as well. What was Gale and Bill?
Gale was an 8, and Bill, I think that would be a 12.
Gotcha. So effectively, everyone but Davros is going to fail this.
Oh.
For
Yeah, sorry, I just Bill would actually be a 7 because he has not on saves. Just primary abilities is wisdom, but not on saves.
oh yeah, my bad. The DC was much higher, so that doesn't actually matter. So everybody's going to fail this. As far as things go at present, I don't think that is going to affect you at present. But I'm gonna note this down for the future. Davros. The torso is kind of still damn it, I keep saying torso. The legs are still standing there. This dark void is still kind of in the wound that is like cut across this body. The legs are still technically burning on fire. And then there is this like stone golem beside you kind of attacking Seamus. What would you like to do?
All right. So with his action, can Davros try to essentially grab the legs and hurl them essentially like kind of turn and hurl them off of the edge to his left here. Like essentially, he wants to hurl them down into the pit. Could that be a grapple check or some sort of check to see if you can grab them?
I don't think you need to make the check to grab them. I'm more tempted to make you do a saving throw to see how much they burn you. So I think, let's say, I guess it really is kind of like still go with dexterity. See how fast you can like almost like manipulate it, like with a judo move. Slash is like, are you picking them up and like holding them to your chest to walk over there? So yeah, let me just get a dexterity to see how fast Davros is making this happen.
Sure. I guess the other thing I was thinking is like a constitution if it's like how well he can like withstand the pain of touching them. But no, dexterity works. Yeah. So essentially, yeah, like he's afraid of burning himself, so he's gonna kind of like. Try
I'm
to
good with
grab
the
it
con
quickly and
save.
hurl.
I'm good with the con save.
All right. All right. I'll do that. 27.
Yeah, so just like a chef or a blacksmith, people who are used to being around hot burning things have kind of like deadened nerve cells. Davros is far more adept than most people at touching those things that are on fire and too hot to manipulate. But you can like pick this thing up, these legs, hurl them over the edge, and apparently deal with that problem.
All right, and then he is going to kind of as he's doing that, he's got his great sword in one hand. He uses his other hand to kind of grab this and throw it off, and then he's going to action surge to attack the thing that this thing that crawled up and is attacking Seamus. He's going to use his action surge to attack that twice with his great sword.
So technically, a grapple check is just one of your attacks. So I think you should have 3 potential attacks against that creature.
Oh, I just assumed it was his action to grab it.
Yeah, it's the attack action. So as long as your other attacks are like, you know what I mean? It's an attack action to grapple, but it's only one of your 2 attacks.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, then I guess yeah, he'll make 3 attacks against this thing then, because he's still going to use his action surge, I think.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how the wording of extra attack is kind of worded. Like, as long as you make the attack, take the attack action, you can make an extra weapon attack.
All right, lowest would be an 18.
Gotcha. Solid hit on all 3 then.
All right. Oof, that's terrible damage. The total of 26 between all 3 attacks. And I'm assuming this is not a
Gotcha.
lawful creature.
Yeah, no, it really shouldn't be.
Yeah, so just 26 then total.
Gotcha. Yeah, so definitely very much resembles kind of like chopping something into chunks. Um, I think as far as things go, you're not like destroying this thing in the singular hits, but you are like hacking away almost massive chunks of this thing, are almost like returning to the stone of this plinth from which they came. By the time it gets all around to all of you guys, I don't think you'll have any problem destroying that thing. The legs and whatever happened to that are not necessarily dealt with, but it's out of sight, out of mind. So I would kind of say, let's skip to the idea that you guys are not necessarily in combat with this thing. You kill that last thing and it too returns to stone. The other one, as far as you guys can tell, is some sort of a statue at this point. It was almost like she animated it, and when she died, it didn't return to stone from which it came. It just returned to stone in the shape that it was. So, like, from that point, if we were to take this to non-combat, what sort of thoughts do you all have inside of this room here? And then I'll also put to you that from this room, there's obviously the way you came in, but there is also a doorway to the southwest that seems to have another kind of like little cliff edge. Um, not on the island, but it's on that like southwestern edge of this geo.
I think Davros, after after the combat ends, is because he did it kind of in the heat of the moment, throwing that kind of the legs over. So he's actually gonna would sort of try to move to the to this edge, and almost probably like get down on his knees and like look over and try to see if he can like, did it land down at the bottom, or what actually happened to those legs? Are they still like visible?
Roll a perception at disadvantage. What are Jinx and Gale thinking?
17 actually with disadvantage.
Yeah, you can spot the legs down there. As far as things go, you're like, as you like lean over this edge, there's a queasy moment where you like feel like you're gonna fall. Only your eyes are looking over the edge, like it's barely a part of your head, and you just have this moment where you like feel queasy, like you're about to fall over this cliff. You do spot the legs. And you can see that this like black ichor and these red eyes, or one of these red eyes, is almost starting to like form a bulb or bulbous kind of like extrusion from that point where you cut the legs. Just like with that tentacle, when she was wounded, something is coming through.
So I'll try to see if I can't get a closer look at the like passageway you said.
Gotcha. So as far as like kind of the difficulty moving about these places goes, and with your gloves, there's a lot less worry about like you're gonna have something catastrophic happen. Because in general, again, you guys are kind of like leaping across and like finding you're there way too quickly. Um, that might be dangerous for somebody else, but your gloves kind of attach you to whatever you might be falling from. So you can like run over, leap across this edge if you wanted to, or you can just kind of make your way to it and just sort of see that there's like a pretty normal for this place, like stone doorway that just separates itself from the rest of these geodes, the rest of these crystals, because all of the crystals are sort of haphazard about this room, but there's just this like 7 foot tall, 2.5 foot wide, like normal sized doorway just sort of there.
Do you want me to do a D20 and on a 1 the gloves break like they normally would?
Oh yeah, my bad. I guess I should just say do the actual test first. It would almost be yeah.
Oh, my bad.
Um,
I rolled a 5, so
so roll a d20 now to see if they break.
11.
Gotcha. Yeah, my bad. It is a good reason not to skip over the actual roll. At the potential that something catastrophic happens.
Oh, no worries. And then yeah, I'll just kind of like spend my turn like examining that door and seeing like does it look like I can tell a way to open it potentially? Like, does it
Yeah,
look real heavy?
effectively, there's a doorknob there. Like to open it is just the decision. Do you want to open it, or do you want to try to see if it's locked? I guess you could turn the knob and see that it's not locked. Yeah, it's like, do you open it or not? I think is a better way to put it.
Yeah, I think I would like gently kind of like give it a little twist to see does it open, and if it's not locked, I think I would just like kind of slowly open it.
I don't know if I ever read the details of this room at all. Um, all right, so when you open this, you are going to see sort of a hall before you, about like 10 or 20 feet, that kind of opens up, and you can kind of see from like the other side of the area that it's almost like a square, like in this angle, a diamond shaped room. There's a central round table, and you can see that there are 3 humans or humanoids who are kind of like in this area. Each of them seems to be kind of like bowed at this central table as if they are like in a group prayer. You can kind of hear them sort of chanting. Um yeah, I think that's kind of what you're going to immediately see. And you can probably spot 2 doors on the south side, but effectively there are 3 doors to this room. Oh, my bad, 4 doors.
And it sounds like they don't like react or anything when I open that door. They don't see me or anything.
The action of opening the door does not grab their attention at all. They are in prayer.
Okay, well then, depending if I still have movement or an action or whatever left, I'm going to just gently, sneakily, quietly, stealthily close the door again.
Yeah, I think as far as things go, like it's your free action to open it. You could use your action to close it.
All right, sounds good. And then I guess once the door is closed, I will sort of
Without
yell out.
dice. 1 second here. Um, what's your stealth modifier?
Oh wait, my bad. The modifier is +6. If you need a roll, I rolled an 8.
Gotcha. Oh, that's crazy. No, I wanted to roll in secret because you don't know like how stealthy you are being. But it's kind of hilarious because I also rolled a 2, which would be an 8. So, um, but yeah, you just kind of like shut the door behind you. Theoretically, you probably have enough movement that you could leap back there. No, I think theoretically you don't have enough movement that you could leap back. You're gonna require like more, because you had to use your action to close the door. Uh Gail, what kind of things are you thinking as this kind of combat comes to a close here?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna so far just like stay where I am. Not gonna risk jumping over unless I have to, but like have my floating spectral spellbook ready. Do shit if it need to.
Gotcha. All right. So what are we kind of thinking here? Like as a party, what are you guys thinking about this room? I think there's plenty of time for Davros to share like something is like growing out of these legs. That woman was not simply just dealt with.
Yeah, I think Davros, seeing what he's seeing down below, is going to kind of look up, see Jinx has jumped over, and I guess you can probably see Gale like kind of seeming very far away, um, on the other, like yet to jump over onto the island, and he's going to I think he's just going to, not even thinking, like, yeah, he's just going to shout out, kind of loudly, don't think we're done here. There's something growing. And he's gonna he went like, essentially he went like kind of prone to kind of look over, peek over the edge. So he's gonna kind of stand up, um back away towards the thing again, and I guess that I guess take the dodge action in case the thing comes, but he's basically, he's yeah, he's not exactly sure what to do next. But he's thinking something bad's gonna happen.
What do you guys think of that? It's like Jinx jumps back into the center. Gale, you're kind of still watching over as he kind of calls that out. What are you guys thinking? What's the party thinking?
So I'll also tell them there's a few more of them in this next room over here. Looks like they're worshiping around a circle or something. I don't think this combat's quite over yet.
And I just want to, sorry, I just want to clarify something. So the things that kind of crawled up that seem to be summoned by the woman, like, is there an opening in this plinth still, or do they kind of seem to come just right out of the stone itself?
Imagine as if like the stone was kind of like rent in two. So like if the table was kind of broken and is almost like what, in like an obtuse angle with like a big crack kind of through the center. The stone doesn't look to be missing any matter. It's just that those things seem to be almost made of that matter.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I think Davros is going to. Yeah, because he felt the nausea kind of staring at this, peeking over the edge. But I think he is going to. He sees the stuff kind of like this ichor growing out of the legs from down below, and I think, if given a few more seconds, he's going to. He's gonna try and run, leap off the edge, and essentially like with his like trying to bring like almost like leaping down, bring the sword down, trying to essentially cleave these like weird legs and this thing in two, as he tries to kind of like leap off the edge and down into the pit.
Gotcha. You want to jump down to them and just basically turn that into an attack as well.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Let me have you roll an attack. You can have advantage. But I want you. Yeah, just let me have you roll an attack with advantage.
Sure. Because he's thinking like, maybe if we attack it before whatever's coming out of it is fully, disgorged. 23 to hit.
How much damage are you doing with?
Be 16.
All right, so let's see. You are going to take 10 falling damage as you leap down. When you land, you cut into where this like kind of bulge of eye and like black ichor is kind of coming out of this wound. What you see is almost as you like withdraw your sword, you've almost like kind of like a flower almost like blossoming. You've like cut down and created almost like a increased surface area, and you just almost immediately are going to see even more of this ichor, and room for eye are now like created in attacking these legs. Like rending them further has only made like a larger space from which this thing seems to be pushing from within it. Let me have you make a wisdom check, please.
Sure. And I guess I guess would he have would he have his normal 2 attacks on that?
Well, I'm gonna say that's like an instantaneous thing. So let me do the wisdom check before you can potentially do another attack.
Okay, because I think he wouldn't have probably noticed that before he just kind of. Although it'd be kind
Gotcha.
of tough to swing twice when he's diving down. So yeah.
Yeah. The diving attack was definitely to see how much of the damage you mitigated by landing a solid blow too. So wisdom wise, that's pretty low. You don't have insight, do you?
I do. It'd be a 10 if it was an insight check.
10. Well, I'm gonna put it out there at least that like Davros is gonna start to gather that like this is the same as that tentacle coming from inside of her. This is something other, and you just made the hole bigger. So, do you want to make a second attack?
Um, I'm gonna put that to a roll too. I'm gonna make a wisdom check for that because Davros is not the smartest guy. So okay, So I think he's going to. I think he's going to refrain from attacking it again because he just seems to be making things worse by kind of splitting this, into pieces. So I think he's just gonna, kind of he will. No, yeah. So he's gonna shout out.
So here, let me give you this real quick. I think that 17 is a solid time to recognize, like, in Davros's like internal monologue, like the recollection of her talking about the opener of the way and how this was like your destination or destiny to be the one to bring the opener of the way. And just kind of like connecting these dots, like you almost just self-fulfilled a prophecy in killing her, in attacking these legs once more. Like this thing inside is something coming through a gateway.
Yeah. So I think as he recognizes that, he's gonna shout out to the others, like up from the bottom of the pit, like, we got a fucking problem. And I think, that'll essentially be his turn.
So you guys don't necessarily have to like stay in like a turn order here. But just keep in mind, like, for how you talk amongst yourselves here, that every about 18 seconds or so, the island and this ringing bell sound are kind of continuing. And it's one of those things that alone is also kind of disjarring, as it's a very low, sort of visceral like bell instead of like a high chime. It's a very low, like it's like vibrating your bones and like the stone and these gems all around you. Every 18 seconds or so, that is happening. And then continually, this body is sort of oozing out more and more of this almost like red eye that has like this black flesh. It's probably only gonna get so big, but from like what you guys are kind of perceiving here, this is gonna get like larger and larger. But like where you're at now, what's the group kind of thinking here? Are you going after those cultists in the other room? Do you have something that you think you are going to deal with this like Icker and Eyeball? Where are your minds? There are also those people swinging on the chains, kind of screaming and agonizing in pain.
Cutting it ain't working. What about some blunt force trauma or some psychic? So could we maybe like try some other kind of attack on it?
Yeah, so like right now you're on that doorway. You potentially have a sight to where this is happening. Roll a perception real quick. Yeah, so you're gonna have to like move some way to get to where you can actually see where he's at. And I think that's a part of potentially like targeting this thing, is to visually be able to see it for you.
Okay, can I do it from like the elevation if I reposition, or do I need to go down to like the ground level? Or I'd prefer to not go on the island if it's doing all that weird stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely like climb around these gems and kind of make your way there. I
Okay,
think
I'm gonna
I
try to
think
get an eye.
theoretically you still have the gloves active. Like you've not necessarily deactivated them. So I would assume Jinx this whole time, once he latched onto the wall with the gloves, that you've just kind of moved to like Spider-Manning on the wall here.
Okay, I got you. Well, I can't do another action while they're activated though. So I'll try to just get to a position where I can see this to get a boomerang throw on it.
Gotcha. So yeah, you'll probably then like be crawling down towards Davros kind of thing. Or really, yeah, the free action would have been opening the door, I think would have been enough to deactivate him before.
Okay, so I'm definitely gonna miss with the boomerang. And then if somebody has a Davros, you need inspiration still?
I did use mine, so if nobody else has it, I will take it.
Okay, and you might get hit by a boomerang. I don't know. You may or may not be getting struck in the back of the head by a magical boomerang.
So what do you guys don't have to stick to a turn order here. I'm trying to hear like what you as a party have ahead of you, what you are trying to accomplish. I think for what it's worth, let me put it out there that eventually you hit it with the boomerang, seems to just kind of like smash into it. You probably have to go retrieve your boomerang by hand as it like sticks into this thing, and you're like almost like pulling the boomerang like out of it as if it were like a splinter in flesh, and this ichor kind of like almost comes a little bit kind of like sticky putty before it just snaps back, and it seems to almost be like a self-healing mat, like where it returns to form as if it were never touched, or rather it returns to formlessness as if it were never touched.
Yeah, I guess so Davros still kind of down in the bottom of the pit would probably be he's gonna go to try to root around in his pack to grab out a torch and a flask of oil. Um or I guess just a flask of oil because he has to. So essentially he's thinking like, he's trying to swing in and cutting into it, and he's gonna try to essentially try to pour some of the oil onto it and then try to um, light a torch and essentially set it on fire. All the while yelling essentially for the others, like, you know.
Gotcha. So you can pour some oil onto it. The legs are still technically on fire, so you don't actually have to light it. But yeah, you kind of just like add extra oil to this flame, and the ichor, the eyeball that's kind of like pushing forward, they burn, but it doesn't seem to really be changing how quickly or slowly. It's quickly, like molasses is quick. That this thing is still just sort of pushing out of this body.
Gotcha. So I guess could he also try to, doesn't really know how this sort of like, distance is weird here. He knows that, but he's considering to try to like jump, to see if he can maybe try to essentially like jump and grab back onto the floating island.
Gotcha. You want to like leap up on and grab one of the chains? Are you trying to like leap up and grab onto like the edge of the island to get back on top of it?
Oh, actually, maybe he'll try and jump and grab a chain and try to get to one of the if any of either of the people who were previously looked like they were still alive, try to get to one of like to try to climb to one of them.
Gotcha. So yeah, same kind of thing. Part of what you should slowly start to gather here is when you are trying to move to a place in this room, you are kind of just arriving there. It's not teleportation, but it's also not really moving in a traditional sense. So the moment you go to like leap up to the chains, it's almost as if you're already holding the chains by the time you push off. And like your momentum is then carrying you like towards the island, and then you're almost falling back down and having to hold yourself with the chain. So that's kind of like the infamiliarity of it. Whereas like if you were a little bit more practice at this, you could almost start to just like imagine yourself like hanging from the chain, and you just kind of find yourself hanging from the chain. It's somewhere in between reality and like how the ethereal plane works, where it's almost purely mental to move in this place. But yeah, you can definitely jump up to the chain, get yourself to one of these people, and it would probably be something akin to like a strength check to say like your freeing them without like just dropping this person to the ground in the crystals below.
Sure.
Do you go for one of the men or the woman?
Probably whoever is closest.
Gotcha. Just tell me who you're closest to, though. Like,
Oh,
tell me
I
who
guess
you.
one of the men.
Gotcha. I mean, we can imagine it was whoever was closest, but it's one of the men.
And strength check, that would be a 13.
Gotcha. Yeah. So as you kind of unravel them, you know hold on to the person as they have like no strength themselves. As you kind of release them, you can basically tell like they're immediately like already kind of in like a fall, and you have to kind of like hold them up. So theoretically, you're on the chains. You freed this person. Do you take them back down? Are you trying to climb them up top?
Probably trying to climb back up top, and then also trying to see like, are they conscious? Are they, can they speak? Like trying to like maybe like speak to them as he's climbing up or trying to
Gotcha.
climb up.
Maybe over a bit more time, you can definitely find that the person is effectively conscious. Not necessarily like good for much in this present state, but his name is Ofri, and he seems to be somewhat responsive. He's not purely like catatonic, but um, seems pretty useless as far as things go as well.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. He's gonna focus on the next bit to get up and um get back up onto the platform.
Gotcha. Do you guys start to help Davros getting these people up onto the platform? What are we kind of thinking?
So Jinx is definitely going to share that doesn't seem like damaging this thing is working particularly well. I guess once you open the gate, it's a little harder to close it. So maybe we should get the hell out of here. And I guess like I would go to like free maybe like the next person. Seeing Davros is like trying to save these people.
Yeah, I think Gale, like, yeah, he's probably gonna try to get over to the island so he can help, like, pull people up, like, give a lending hand or something. And that's gonna be something. We shall learn to fly.
Yeah, it's your first one on this one. Let me get a dexterity and a athletics or acrobatics from you, Gail.
So a nat 20 on the dexterity, and
Yep, golden. It's enough that like by the time you like make your approach, you're effectively kind of like planning for the oddness of how this room is affecting you. You are able to kind of make your leap across. Um, Not necessarily like over jumping things. You're not like under jumping. It's hard to tell yourself not to jump, but you have among the greatest kind of grasps of what this place is, and sort of the understanding that like you need to put some effort into it as if you were doing that thing, but it's also just as much just recognizing that you are already where you need to be. And Gail can kind of leap across there as well. With the group assisting, you guys can definitely get these three people up onto the island. By the time you look down, there's now kind of a let's say like cow-sized like blob kind of like moving away from this like pair of like rent legs. The legs are still on fire. Part of this blob is now like kind of like sizzled and like going out from the alchemist fire. And there's basically room for one of these big red eyes that kind of takes up almost half of the surface area of this thing, and it just seems to be kind of down there, and the eye just seems to be looking. You guys feel any danger from this thing being there? Are you going to progress forward with kind of taking these innocent people to another level of safety? Are you trying to get back and away and then continue forward?
Does the eye seem to be looking at us or just looking around? Or can we
So
tell?
it's almost large enough, and maybe even to say like it doesn't have
Oh, like no
like
eyelid, like so we
a
can't really tell.
retina. Yeah, it's more that this eye is just so large, it just seems to like be almost like it can like absorb everything that is forward of it. So it's not necessarily like looking at the crystal wall behind it. This thing is, like I said, like the size of a cow, but it's not like it's it's still just kind of like a blob of like it's formless matter except for just this sort of red eye that kind of forms on the surface of it. um I almost want to say it's almost kind of more like triangular or like pyramid shaped, but again, like the main idea to kind of take here is it's a seeing thing, but it's not necessarily a concerned thing. It doesn't have limbs or anything to necessarily be doing things.
Gotcha. So I think Davros is going to he's moving back over towards this edge. Probably either carrying or depending on how sort of mobile the other person is, just sort of supporting the Offrey supporting him. But he's basically going to look towards Jinx and Gale, and um, you know, not really sure what to make of the thing down below, but is thinking maybe he shouldn't have you know killed the woman, but he's thinking he's going to tell to the others, we need to get them out of here, and by them referring to the three people from the chains.
So they're like malnourished and like, like kind of like lacking in blood sort of thing. These people are not healthy enough to do athletic things. When you are approaching this idea of getting them off the island, this is definitely one of those things where what like Terry and Davros are probably the strong two. You're probably gonna have to like throw these people across the island to get them back to the other edge.
Yeah, I guess Davros is almost thinking of like taking the one he's got in like a fireman's carry and then trying to leap across.
Yeah, I definitely think you could do that. And after doing it once, you would probably know that that's a pretty easy task for Davros to do if you want to, repeat it two more times. Um, Terry's pretty small, but he's also pretty strong. So Terry could potentially do somebody like that. Somebody else who is more confident in like their thought could potentially do it as well. You don't have to be strong, but the strength of Davros makes it really easy to imagine what you needed to be doing. And I think you guys can kind of understand like it's as simple as just appreciating that you can get to the other side.
So while this is going on, I think Jinx would having like thrown his boomerang and it like not looking like it was particularly effective, just try like hurling a string of insults one after another. They would be like very terrible puns and like dad jokes in the form of vicious mockeries to see if like the psychic damage seems to like thwart this thing. Like obviously like the physical damage didn't seem like particularly effective and like some of the elemental stuff has been like limited in this room. So just trying for like the psychic seemed to work earlier.
So I feel like there's an interesting aspect to psychic. Um you can definitely appreciate on some level like creating damage, but it's also hard to say that this thing is concerned with you enough to be like psyched out. That's part of where I feel like that there's a good reason to say this thing is immune to like psychic damage, but at the same time that it has no reason not to be taking that damage. Um and I think that's to kind of say like this is, let me have you do an arcana. Let's do that. Let me have you do an arcana check, please. Gail's up there. Let's go for
It's so
yeah.
bad.
I'm glad I said that before I saw. Let me have Gail. Well, yeah, it doesn't even matter. I'm gonna put it out there because I want you guys to recognize where this is going. This is something that is like true chaos here. This is not something that is chaotic evil. It is not chaotic good. This is a amalgamation of real chaos. This thing doesn't require any interest in you. It is almost a uh it is like a wound to the order of existence that this thing is here. Um
So I'm just like picturing the thing from Fifth Element. You know what scene I'm talking about? Where it's like the chaos is like coming through and like they're attacking it and it's just like getting bigger and like not hurting it.
Yeah, I think that thing is definitely really close to this idea because what I'm 100% trying to get to is the idea that this is effectively a Lovecraftian horror here. This is something that is beyond this world and it is not meant to be here because it is formless. And it's one of those things where, like, it resembles having eyes, but its perception is not on the same level as like where we perceive to like take in things. This thing is, I don't know, it's just really hard to describe, but yeah, the Fifth Element sort of evil is a solid idea, but that's generally taken as evil instead of like chaos. I think one of the things to appreciate about this is to understand that it is just as happy to destroy, or happiness isn't even the right word, but it is just as functional to destroy those who worship and adore it as to destroy those who hate and fight against it. It's just destruction because it breaks apart order, and life is effectively order. And
So
then
I'm
one of
starting to think this thing maybe is above our pay grade and we need to get the hell out of here.
and one of the other things to kind of take in and appreciate about this thing, the different times you see it is basically limited by the size of the gateway from which it came. So maybe from the first wound it was so dangerous. From the second wound that killed the Ildras, it was more dangerous. The third wound that cut it even further, it was more dangerous. And that's kind of like the limiting factor. And then I think for many things, there's also the recognized, like you magic users know, like magical gateways have their limitation. Gateways close too. You can open and close things. So there's the level of like you can fight stuff to defeat it, but time also kind of accomplishes that. And this thing in particular is not necessarily something you guys are like meant to fight right now. It's just more of kind of a recognition of things to come.
Yeah, Davros is definitely ready to get out of here. He's thinking like, okay, he's been taking the last few minutes to try to get these folks over to the other side, but he's ready to try to just flee. Like this is beyond his understanding for sure. Whatever this thing is, all he knows is that he might have inadvertently kind of brought it in when he struck down the woman. And now he's also maybe thinking maybe that's what she wanted the whole time.
So I think my big question for you guys is if we imagine you've crossed back over, you have these three people who are essentially entirely dependent on you. They are effectively non functional on their own. Do you continue down this hallway from which you were heading? Do you go backwards and try to make your way back towards like some sort of safety where you can leave these people? What is your thought on how you progress forward here? Where is forward now? Now,
Davros at least is thinking, let's just get the hell out of here. We need to get these people out.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, but I'm just maybe not the best thing to go back from where we came though, with the devils and that room with the a demon that got summoned. Don't want another sacrifice thing to happen.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. And the truth is, if we came down here, we end up saving these three random people that we have no idea who they are, make it out alive. In the meantime, we've somehow opened a gate to whatever that chaos thing is right there, summoned a powerful demon, and I mean, that kind of seems like a failure to me. So, should we try to get a small win before we go? Or
I don't mind fighting demons to get out of here. We no idea what's through that next door.
and it could be Kabbalah and the machine, right? Or I mean, or was that the machine? That lady, that thing, the floating thing?
What's the saying? Fight the demon, you know.
What's the chances that one of these people or these victims or whatever is actually the king? I mean, would we know if we found him? I guess is are either of the men big enough to where even malnourished they could potentially be like a barbarian king that's just in rough shape, or not really?
make a perception check. Or maybe investigation? One of those two. I'd say looking over them, neither of these would appear to be a barbarian. You saw most of the barbarians were like heavily tattooed, and these people seem to be pretty unremarkable, like Polian people. The demons had told us originally to follow the hall, and Neferndel kind of just like points down to the doorway. Maybe we could continue this way?
Yeah, I gotta agree with Neffy. I mean, we came this far. It doesn't make sense to just turn back now. I mean, I get it, but is that who we are?
So Davros kind of he's probably still kind of maybe like supporting one or two of these folks, but he looks uncertain, but he will kind of gives a resigned nod and then all right, keep going.
You all right with that, Gail?
Yeah, I mean, I'm all right with that.
All right, well, let's keep it moving.
Gotcha. Falling back into the rough order that we had you in before, where it was like Davros and Terry at the front. I think, what was it? Was Jinx at the back with Neffy? Gonna go like that? Have like the two of you, Seamus and then Bill, and then Neffy at the back?
Yeah, and then maybe just have like some of the sidekicks kind of and Neffy like kind of see into the whatchamacallits.
Yeah, like how mobile are these three sort of like do they require people to essentially kind of help them along, or can they walk on their own?
It's not quite that they have to be carried, but they definitely need somebody to help them. So let's say that we've got Seamus, Bill, and Neffy kind of holding somebody up. Because Terry's at the front exploring. You don't have to have Terry like hold somebody. But it is enough that like you can leave these people alone, but they just kind of like fall down into a bundle and like next to the wall, and they just like shrivel up. Um, if you let go of them, they are just stopping right where they are.
So I think it makes sense then have Seamus, Bill, and Neffy kind of each kind of helping one of them along in the back.
Excellent. So you guys can approach that doorway, and I believe the door is locked.
So Davros, kind of seeing the door locked, is going to kind of step back. He'll kind of call Seamus up. He'll can I don't know, can the sidekicks kind of, can he do like a lock picking sort of thing?
Let me just have Davros make it with advantage to mimic Seamus.
Sure. Yeah. I was just thinking like if if there's something on the other side, then essentially they'd have to switch places. So an 18 rolled with advantage.
Gotcha. What's your total?
Assuming that Seamus has thieves tools, I guess it would be a plus. Will he be a plus? He's considered 7th level, so +3.
Gotcha. Yeah. So fiddling with this lock, this door is kind of like beyond that initial level. It's going to take some time to get it open, as it just has like a few more tumblers than perhaps, we'll say for now, like Seamus is used to using. Or it just kind of comes down to the simple idea, like, it's also like an iron door. There's also just destroying your way through it. Um, but at present, it is a question of, do you invest time in getting through it, or do you kind of invest in like smashing it, theoretically, like maybe more with hammers and whatnot kind of thing? But at present, this is not a momentarily unlock this door and move through.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I think kind of seeing Seamus not being able to get through it at first, Davros will kind of call to him, have Seamus again sort of take up the support of the person, and I was gonna say Davros is gonna try to like kind of shoulder his way through the door, but then when you said it was iron, um, he's probably not that strong. But he's thinking maybe, yeah, we just start kind of maybe brute force our way through, or try to.
Gotcha. Yeah, so this is kind of where I think we discussed like the idea that, like, does Davros still carry like his actual like smithing hammer with him? Or do you only have swords?
So he doesn't have his warhammer, but I would say he still probably has like just more for nostalgia than anything else. He still has some of his smith tools with him. Yeah.
Gotcha. So I would like you. Oh, why do we have Gale at the front of the party right now? Is Gale moving up there to help him?
No, I was just. I guess when we were moving forward, I just put myself there.
Okay, I got you. Um, Theoretically, oh, okay, I got what you're saying. Like you would have moved up there if Terry had moved up. Yeah. So theoretically, we got you guys kind of taking the time to bust through this door. Um, there's no real hostility. Let me do it real quick. Why is it taking so long? All right, yeah. No real hostility happening like around the actual doorway here. So you kind of like take your time. You're basically breaking through the door instead of actually like taking the time to unlock it. Like, great, make a complicated lock. That's fine. I'm a blacksmith. I can find my way between steel and stone and just destroy the doorway. By the time you kind of like go to remove this door, you hear just kind of like and I need Terry and Davros to make Constitution saving throws, please.
Be an 18 for Davros.
Terry's is going to be pretty low. I think he's proficient in Constitution, but it's probably going to be like an 11 or something like that.
Gotcha. I forgot. I'm looking at a book with 4th edition rules. I need to bring up the PDF with 5th edition.
Is 11 or like around that area going to make a difference, or not really worth making sure?
Oh no, at present, I think that'll be perfectly functional to know. He's not going to be 5 below it, and he probably does not save.
Okay, cool.
Oh, it's one of those. If you're 5 or below, it's even worse.
Oh, I just mean most saves, there's something about it that like I know 11 is going to fail, pretty much guaranteed. But I also know it's probably not a 16 where it would be 5 below to actually matter. I don't specifically think it is one of those, but that's one of those things, like that's usually where saves matter. Is do you pass it? Yes or no? Do you pass it by more than 5, or do you fail it by more than 5? Because sometimes that matters.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what do you guys think are the odds that we unleash some unimaginable horror on the city once again?
I would say high to 100%.
Now, hypothetically speaking, if we unleash enough unimaginable horrors, eventually they'll just fight each other, and then we'll be fine.
True, it's gonna be like a Godzilla versus King Kong movie. Let them fight.
Well, we had to unleash this abominable horror so we could fight the other abominable horror that we unleashed before.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
nothing can go wrong with that plan.
it's 3D chess. I mean, I don't expect everyone to understand it.
But I'm definitely thinking like Davros, like, the woman essentially wanted him to cut her in two so that she could unleash this thing.
Yeah, I mean, the way I see it, she like either wanted you to cut her in two, or she was gonna like make you the next gate.
Yeah, yeah, that's an option. Yeah, that's also, yeah.
It's like it was a win-win for her, basically.
So, safe to say that Jinx unleashed a demon into this world, so he's done his part. Davros has unleashed Chaos Abomination. I think it's your turn, Chris.
I mean, Asha did like the vampire resurrection thing, and then unleashing whatever was in that like necklace.
Well, if what Jinx releases pure evil and what Davros releases pure chaos, I think that what you're going to release is going to be pure good, uh, Gail.
Not sure that's how it's gonna work out, but yeah, I can try.
Spoiler alert, this whole setting is a jail cell for evil.
So whatever Gale releases is not going to be pure good, is what you're saying?
Probably not going to be pure good.
Yeah, I think like in our defense, if we're gonna like, just assume that wherever we hang out, we're just gonna eventually unleash very powerful things, like maybe we should go to church more or something.
Well, I guess we could go back to the necropolis and whatever Dalton has spoken to that thing and be like, all right, we need to release you so you can fight these terrible evils that we've also released.
Oh yeah, I think you actually have spoken with the only thing in this setting that is actually pure good. And he has basically turned into like an emo child because he like questions like, why, if this place is a cell for evil, have you put me in here? Because I can't think of his name offhand, but Lilith is one of the most evil things in this setting, and he is effectively her husband.
Yeah, I think of that guy as I can't remember his name offhand either, but I think of almost him as like the idea that Lucifer was like not actually a fallen devil, but was essentially like a good guy sent to like guard over, and then essentially it just turns him sort of like, why am I doing this sort of thing. That's kind of how I view that guy.
Oh yeah, they definitely gave him very much like fallen angel, um, like vibes. But again, it's not necessarily because he's evil that he's a quote unquote fallen angel, but it's like because he was put in here, he's like that emo punk, like, what the fuck did you put me in this? And he like hangs out with like the most evil shit. I can't find it real quick. My bad. I got distracted because I stepped into an interesting conversation.
Yeah, but just like supreme indifference, like just like it was all shit. So who cares? Like, why bother saving the world? The world's a piece of shit anyway.
Yeah, I was watching this show called Superstore, and one of the things that they like talk of, this guy like dies on a couch, and they're asking everybody how they feel, and eventually one person raises his hand like, I'm kind of just feeling like apathy, and I was just like, you can't ask people in a grocery store like if they feel apathetic, because all of a sudden like everybody raises their hands like, yeah, I actually feel apathy, and that's 100% like his vibe in this setting is he's just apathetic to all of the evil. He's like, I know what's going on, like, but why? Like, why would I put any effort into anything? So he just sits on his throne.
That's like total Fifth Element vibes again when she's like having that like existential crisis where like man is like destroying itself and like hurting itself and everything. And so she's like, why even bother?
Yeah, yeah. She's like, war is so much worse. Like, what is love if you guys have war? The difference between the fifth edition and the fourth edition book are just confusing. I don't think this trap is meant to be more than something that's kind of an interesting thing. And I feel like because you guys don't have a lockpick, the fact that you're moving forward with a blacksmith, it's more interesting that you break through the door, and that's part of like breaking the trap of this place. Because let's say basically as you're smashing through this, I'm gonna say at present like the two of you are poisoned. Um, as far as things go, it kind of reduces how fast the two of you move. Oh wait, my bad. What was Davros's save? I think Davros actually saved high enough. You said a
Uh,
19.
18 or 19, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so let's say Davros is good. Terry is moving a little sluggishly because he gets poisoned from it. But you basically notice as you open up this door by taking it off that it was trapped. There was some sort of poisonous, like noxious gas on this side. And you see on the other side of the door, the hallway continues for about 20 feet before there is another door. You don't necessarily hear it with like the gas kind of happening, or you don't necessarily see it with the gas kind of happening. But the gas is actually at the other side of this little hall that it was released. Um, and it just so happened that basically Terry and Davros are essentially the only people close enough to kind of get affected by it. But essentially there is another locked door in front of you. The gas kind of dissipates from this area, and by the time it's really going to matter, Terry's not going to be poisoned anymore because theoretically he's making saves every turn. So I'm just going to say like, um, ignore the kind of poison there.
Yeah, I think Davros, after kind of like spending a bit of time smashing through this door, is going to kind of move up to this one. And he'll probably like, he'll cursorily try the, if there's a doorknob or whatever, try to open it. But if it's still locked, he's just gonna not even wait and just gonna try to start. Uh, Assuming it's another kind of like iron door, we'll try to just sort of essentially start doing the same thing and try to, you know, um, smash his way through it.
Gotcha. Yeah, exact same thing. It's another iron door. You can move forward, check the door. It does appear to still be locked. You can, like real quickly, like just smash through where the like hinges are. like breaking that level of it. You break the point where it locks, and you're basically removing this like destroyed door. You guys would hear like a basically like a clicking from the opposite side of the room, like the opposite door that you've already come through, as that door is basically trying to like slam shut, but there's nothing there to do it. So there's, just a mechanism just kind of hitting some of the broken metal, and failing to actuate. I think go with the same idea. There's an otherwise ineffectual. It's more interesting if somebody breaks into the door by picking the lock, that you're basically getting shut into this room and poisoned, versus like with this case, it just kind of plays out perfectly to kind of get around this trap in one of the ways by destroying the doors. But same kind of idea. It's really just a poisoning effect, which is not terribly dangerous. Unless I roll a 20 for a random encounter. So let me have everybody roll Constitution saving throws for me, please.
24 for Davros.
16 for Gale.
That con saving throw 6 for Jinx.
Oh, and do you want them for the sidekicks as well?
Yes, please. It looked like Gale was probably good on both. What was Bill's though? His was the 13 plus what?
Oh, just a flat 13.
All right. So it looked like all of the sidekicks failed, and only Gale and Davros passed. Let me roll for Neffy.
If they have proficiency, is it like their level? Like, are they +7?
I think they're normally +5, and then they're one level behind you. So I think their proficiency bonus is still a +3. So they should be like a +10 if they have proficiency.
Okay, so Terry is like a 13. Jinx is definitely a failure.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was thinking about like a 15 DC here. So I think it goes right to say Gale and Davros passed, everybody else failed. Which is to say everybody else is poisoned here. Poisoned condition is disadvantage on attacks and ability checks. And theoretically, you're doing this like you can resave for that at the end of each turn. Yeah, so let's have a few of the Venom Thrall. So when you remove that door, Davros, there's like this like expulsion of gas. You guys hear the actuation behind you as it like fails to lock the door behind you. And you're basically removing the door. The gas kind of like clears from around this little contained space that you're inside of. And you can see like two of these Venom Thralls are sort of ahead of you, and kind of like moving in that direction. And let's just do a initiative here.
Ooh, 6 for Davros.
10 for Gale.
Jinx is 24.
Gale, you were higher than Davros, right? You said 10 for Gale, 6 for Davros, kind of.
Yeah, Gale was 10.
Yep, and Davros was 6, yeah.
Alrighty, so Jinx, looks like you're kind of second row there. You can see these creatures. Again, these creatures are large, like they're humans in their origin, but a lot of the like bone protrusion is like amassing up of how these things grow. And you can see that they're about like, 15 feet in front of you. They're about 10 feet in front of Davros and Terry. What would you like to do, Jinx?
And who didn't get poisoned right there?
Effectively, Davros and Gale are the non-poisoned folk.
And that's disadvantage on melee, right?
Oh, on attacks, not just melee.
Okay.
Attack rolls and ability checks.
Okay, so I think I'm gonna go ahead and do. He's just gonna reach over to Terry and touch his shoulder, and he's gonna say, "We need you at your A game, buddy." And I'm gonna do lesser restoration on him to cure the poison.
Excellent.
So that will use up 2 of the staff charges.
Gotcha. And that's an action for that bonus action. You want to inspire? Do you have another thought for your bonus?
No, I'm gonna pass on a bonus action this turn. I don't really have much.
Gotcha. You want to have Terry clear that distance and put some attacks down?
Yeah, he's gonna run up and do a double attack. So it'd be a 13 plus his bonus, so that should be like 20 or more, and then a 6 plus what 7, so like maybe a 14, 13.
Um, that one's gonna miss.
Okay, and then he's gonna do 12 damage.
Excellent. Let's see. This one is going to attack Terry. All right, so it's gonna claw at him first. The low one there is a 15 to hit. I think his armor is 18, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh wait, no, my bad. The low one there is an 18 to hit. So both of those should hit. But the one is like a glancing if you wanted to do some dice manipulation, or if you want to hold off for the potential of like one of the players, that's fine. Um, but it looks like I'm about to hit him twice. If you're gonna let those go through, can I have 2 saves from Terry? Basically just don't roll a 1 with these.
Yeah, he's good on both.
And then it will try to bite him. Um, he will be restrained now that he is grappled and restrained from those first 2. So this is gonna crit. If you don't want to manipulate that, I need him to make a save. It's got to be 15 or better. So I think you need to roll a 5 or better with his plus 10. And if he fails, it's for 3 wounds. So
Okay,
yeah,
so he
he's good
passes it.
there. And then that'll go to the next one. I think for what it's worth, it's basically going to crawl up the ceiling and clear the distance to Davros. And it's gonna do pretty much the same thing. 2 claws at Davros.
And Davros is going to use a bracing attack, one of his superiority die, to make an attack as it comes into his reach.
Gotcha. Yeah, so you attack it as soon as it gets close to you. You can make that attack. It should hit you with one of its claws.
And my attack will miss, I think, with a 12.
Gotcha. So these things aren't armored. Do you still have bardic inspiration?
No, I used it on something, I think, one of my
Gotcha.
saves before.
I was kind of thinking so, but I wanted to put it forward that a D8 has a good chance of making that hit. So yeah, at this point, these things are unarmored. They're just like bone. They're not that easy to hit, but they are relatively easy to hit in the long run. One of those claw attacks is going to hit you, so that is going to grapple and restrain Davros. The claw strike is going to deal. I really need to find my dice in all of my shit. I miss rolling. 9 slashing damage as it claws into you, and then its bite is going to be an advantage here. And it should hit you with the bite. And this is gonna do 9. I don't think it matters, but 9 piercing and 8 poison damage as it bites into you.
All right, so it's 17 total, right?
Yes. And then that's going to take us to Gale. These things have basically grasped onto both Terry and Davros. What would you like to do?
I think. Yeah, I'm gonna Yeah, I'm just gonna see attack the one that's holding Davros. So you just shoot a firebolt at it at the moment. Oh, actually, wait, no, I'm gonna scrap that. I'm gonna cast fear on both of them. So that is a Wisdom 16 saving throw for them, or they become frightened.
Poor bastards. I hope to God cause fear causes you to hold concentration.
It does.
Okay. Whew, that's good. uh, any bonus? Otherwise, what would you like for Bill to do?
Bill will shoot 2 shots into one holding Davros. Oh, and he will put the Hunter's Mark on that one.
On Davros's Hunter's Mark?
Yeah, the one that's like holding Davros. I think those should hit. The lowest one is a dirty 20. I think dirty
Oh,
21.
yeah, definitely hit.
See, that's 24 damage on that one. Holy shit.
Excellent. You guys have fought enough of these. You know that's a pretty solid about quarter of its life with 24 damage. These things have about 100 hit points. Should be everything from Bill, and it will go to Davros.
All right, so Davros kind of braced himself, but then got enveloped by this thing. He is going to just, I think, swinging twice at this thing. I will use my inspiration for the first attack to make it a normal roll. So he's restrained, right?
Indeed, yep.
All right, so first one should
Solid
hit
hit.
for 10 total, and then second one at disadvantage, 12.
12's gonna miss.
All right, and then bonus action, I'm going to go ahead and second wind. Ooh, that's nice. All right, regain 18 hit points, and that will be it for Davros.
Oh, what would you like to do with Seamus?
Seamus is going to move forward. It's difficult terrain to move past an ally, right?
Yeah, I think that's you can move past allies, but it takes double movement for difficult terrain.
Yeah, that sounds difficult
I
terrain.
think
Yeah,
unless
like-
you're a size smaller, I think Terry can move through others. But I think you got to be a size smaller, if not tiny.
okay. I mean, well, I think actually Seamus is a halfling, right? So I mean, he's not going to move any farther anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But
Yeah, I think you might be right though. I don't remember specifically about the size thing, but as far as I'm concerned, that's part of where like the rules are just like, well, they don't care anymore. Like, I feel like if you're smaller, then yes.
yeah, and I think Seamus is going to, seeing this thing grabbing at Davros, is just going to try to kind of stab into it, trying to obviously release its hold or kill it. And it should hit for 11 damage total.
Excellent.
And that's it for him.
That should bring us back around to Jinx.
Okay, so is the one in front of us pretty busted up at this point in time? Is it bloody dead or no?
It's not bloodied, but you guys have it about half.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, so definitely not gonna be getting any killing blows or anything. So I'll just try to help out Terry. So I'm gonna just yell out vicious mockery at the thing, and I'm just gonna yell, "Whatever you do, don't eat him. He's poisoned." And it's a 16 Wisdom saving throw.
Gotcha. And what was the damage rolled?
It is 3 damage, so he's probably dead. And then that's it for Jinx, and I'm gonna do Terry next.
Oh, damn. Some of these were poisoned. Who actually made an attack that they had to roll for?
Ooh, Seamus was disadvantaged.
Seamus was disadvantaged. So yeah, let me assume that Neffy did a lesser restoration on Seamus this turn.
If he disadvantaged, it would have been a 15 to hit.
No, that's what I was saying. Let me assume that Neffy did a lesser restoration on Seamus because we forgot to include it, and I'm pretty sure most of you didn't actually make those attacks that mattered. So I'm gonna use Neffy to cure that for him
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
because I forgot to use her. So
And there's no saving throw against the restrained condition, right?
yeah, you either have to try to break out of it and escape, which is your action, or just fight through it. Once it hits you, you're grappled by these things, and then once you're grappled, you're restrained by them.
Right. Okay. Yep.
Okay, and then Terry is going to do his commanding strike, and oh, it has to be against the same target. Okay, so yeah, so Terry's gonna do his commanding strike against that same the creature that's like grappling him, and then he's gonna command Jinx to actually attack it. So he'll just yell out, "Quit with that BS and try to save me!" And I'll throw a boomerang at it. And I'm gonna use my magic boomerang so it automatically comes back.
Gotcha.
Oh, so
Oh,
is he disadvantaged because he's grappled?
he is indeed, yes.
Okay, so it's still like
It's
a
still gonna
20
hit.
something,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. Yeah, my bad. You guys have fought these enough. You know that they're AC 16 too. So
Okay, so 15 magic damage from Terry and a natural 1 from Jinx. Does anybody need
solid.
inspiration?
No, I still have mine.
Davros, you need one?
Yeah. If you've already got it, I'll take it.
Bro, you know I'm an inspiration generating machine. And that was it for Terry's turn.
Alrighty. So the one with Terry in its grasp is going to try to bite down on Terry.
So the
Um
first one is disadvantaged, so I think that one should be regular at least.
they're both actually frightened, so they're both gonna be regular because they're both attacking the people they have restrained and they're both frightened. So I don't think they're smart enough to like turn away from Gale so they wouldn't be frightened to where the disadvantage from your spell would actually count. So this is the one that's on Terry. It should hit him as it bites down into him. I need a con save of 16 from Terry.
Ooh, that will be a fail.
All right, so he is going to gain 1 level of exhaustion. Okay, so Terry has this thing like already grappling into him. It is bringing out these like like this extra like syringe like mandible uh from like this bony structure of its mouth. I don't remember how well you guys remember me describing these the first time you encountered them, but it's like bringing this out as it like kind of reaches in and it's just slowly like biting down into Terry, and you hear this like pumping sound as these things start to pierce into Terry's flesh, and this thing is just pumping Terry full of this poison. Terry would surely be screaming in some way as this happens, but Terry is about to receive a concentrated dose of the Venom Thrall injection. And I hate this idea, but it's going to then release Terry. And then the next one's going to do the same thing for Davros. And again, it has advantage and disadvantage. 18, I believe, should hit Davros.
Yep, that'll hit.
Okay,
Make
hang on, I
a
might mess with this one. Is this the one that does like the big attack, like the exhaustion and everything that just happened to Terry?
It is indeed. It's doing the same thing where it's like opening up its mandibles. These syringe-like bones are kind of protruding from its face, and it's preparing to bite down into Davros.
Okay, so seeing how like vicious this attack was, I'm gonna do a spend a bardic inspiration on this to try to minus it. So cutting words, yeah. So I'm gonna minus a d8 from it if I can. So -6.
I believe a 12 is going to miss.
That will make a miss. Thank you, Jinx.
Oh yeah, I've seen that before. It laid eggs in Terra, so he's dead for sure. But
Real
can't have it
fucking
happen to
cool,
you.
man. I thought we were partners.
Oh shit, he wasn't meant to hear that. I think that was the first time you ever like got somebody with a concentrated dose, so that seemed pretty brutal.
I believe so. Yes, it is indeed. And then it will go to Gale.
Yeah, I'm keeping up my concentration. I'm just gonna firebolt the one closest to us. Try to get that down. Yeah, that's a 22 to hit
Solid hit.
for 18 fire damage.
Excellent. Any bonus action, or what would you like to do with Bill?
No bonus action, and Bill is gonna keep peppering it with arrows. So let's see. 216 rolls. So yeah.
Oh, is Bill poisoned as well, or
Oh right, he should be.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Let me
forgot about that.
roll. Yeah, Neffy. I think it's safe to say, yeah, Neffy would be between Gale and Davros. So, yeah. But you rolled 2 attacks there, so one of those at least hits. So at least one of the damage. Roll the other attack at disadvantage.
Well, that's a 6. He doesn't have a +10, so yeah,
Yeah,
that
plus 7's going to be a miss. Yep. So he'll do 1 set of damage though from his arrows.
And that's 10 total damage.
Excellent. So poison wise, theoretically, Bill is the only person who has to make attack rolls. Gale and Davros saved. Terry got cured. Then Seamus. Yeah, so right now, Bill, Neffy, and Jinx are the ones who are still poisoned. Yeah, so Neffy can cure Bill on this round. And then we'll go to Davros.
all right? Davros, still restrained by this thing, but thanks to Jinx, not full of the weird eggs, is going to keep attacking. I will use my inspiration to make the first one a straight roll. That will hit for 11 damage, the first one, and then 16 should hit as well.
Yep, 16 is its AC. Roll a 7 or greater.
That would be an 11 total damage.
Excellent. How do you kill this like bony thing that's trying to inject you with this venom?
Feel like with his, because he's kind of restrained, so like with his first attack, he kind of maybe like kind of cuts off whatever the mandible, whatever the thing is trying to inject him with, and then with his second attack, he just sort of like smashes right into its kind of front thing and cracks it open.
Got you, like the bone plate above its skull. Like that's what you kind of mean?
Yeah.
Excellent. So yeah, you like cut off this like lower mandible that actually like brings out this like syringe like pumping system, and then as it like cuts that off and it is effectively not nearly as dangerous without such a thing. You smash through its like skull plate, and this thing just kind of like falls down to the ground. And again, they're vastly like these like bones that are vaguely humanoid, just overly like giganticized. And you can just kind of see how they like stretched with this extreme quick growth in their cocooning process. And you dispatch that one. It will go to Jinx.
And I imagine the restrained condition ends at the end of his turn as it dies.
Yes, yes. If it's dead, you are not restrained by it. My bad though. I lied that it goes to Jinx. It'll actually go to Seamus.
Okay. Well, I was asking more because does Davros have movement, or does he
Oh yeah,
fully
you
get
do
movement?
actually. Yep, you do. Yeah, you could close ground. You could probably even move to the other side of the other one, with how things go.
So I think so he would move just like up beside Seamus or beside Terry.
I think that actually makes sense because I shouldn't tell you that you can move through it. Because I don't think you can move through enemies, and it takes up the hall. So yeah, that works out perfectly. Your attacks are spent, so you don't have action surge. So I think it's good that it goes then to Seamus.
Yep. And Seamus will move forward. He will. I think since he'll essentially like kind of like as Davros is kind of taking a wide stance as he moves forward, he'll kind of like dart between his legs and stab out at this thing before darting back.
Oh yeah, you can 100% attack like from the same square. You just can't stop there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, essentially kind of moves in Davros's space and moves back. I guess he.
Poor Davros has these tiny little creatures fighting beside him, and these big ass like enemies that can only see Davros.
All right. So 19 would hit for 10 damage total.
Excellent. That should then take us to Jake.
Okay, and then when Terry got injected with the what I'm calling eggs, did he actually take damage from that, or does he just get exhaustion?
As far as you can see, Terry was like bit into by this thing. It like makes this like pumping noise, and you guys can kind of see like these semi-clear. My bad. I feel like the dog is going crazy. It's gonna get worse. You can see like the semi-clear, like almost like oh man, what is it called? Like veins is the wrong word, but like where like the venom is like pumped through, and you can almost see like the motion of the liquid inside. But like to your perception, to everybody around, like Terry got bit by this thing, so theoretically he took damage, but it just like pumped him full of this liquid and then released him. Terry didn't actually take damage. He doesn't yet take any exhaustion. As far as that attack goes mechanically, it just hit him with the concentrated dose and then releases him.
Okay, I got you. I got you. So yeah, Jinx will as he like reaches back and pulls his like long dragon rifle from his back and like steadies it down in front of him, preparing to hopefully not shoot the rest of the party. He's gonna say like some reassuring words to Terry, and he's just gonna say, "Don't worry, Terry. Those eggs will take minutes to hatch." And then he's gonna shoot the thing. So I do have disadvantage because I am still poisoned, I think.
Yep, yep, you
And
are.
then so I'm gonna use my inspiration for just a
Straight roll.
regular. Oh yeah, and that should be a hit for sure.
Solid. Yep. As long as you have any plus, that's a hit. So solid hit into this thing.
Okay, and then the dragon rifle was plus what is it? 2 or is it dex modifier? For the damage? I can't remember.
Oh, what is it? I think I've got it posted in Discord.
Is the pistol like 1D? That was like a D10 or a D12.
Oh
No,
yeah.
I think the rifle was 2d6 plus something. I think it was. I see the picture. I don't see the actual stats.
Yeah, I saw that.
Probably won't make a big difference either way. I feel like it was plus
I
like 2 or
think
3 or something.
I think Justin's right that it's just a D10. I don't think they have a plus. I think that's part of where like firearms are cool, but like bows are still better for a lot of reasons, and I think that is part of it.
Because I'm also just thinking of if they use although Tullis is 4th edition, but I feel like the 5th edition firearm rules don't provide a bonus. It's just I think it's a D10 and then like a D whatever for the rifle.
For some reason, I was thinking it was a d6 for the pistol and 2d6 for the rifle. Is that not right?
Doesn't sound right to me. I'm at the firearms now. I just found it. I need to remember that I have them listed as firearms for my notes. So the dragon rifle is 1d12, and then
Okay, so
dragon
it'd be like
pistol is
11.
1d10.
Okay, so it's not that much better. So it'll be a 11 total, and then I'm gonna use my bonus action for the first part of the reload.
Gotcha. But you said it was 11 damage.
Yeah, I rolled 11 out of 12, so it doesn't really matter if it's 2d6 or d12, does it?
Technically, you can't roll as low with 2d6, but I would say since you already rolled an 11 with them, that's perfectly fine to say that it was an 11.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
Then Terry.
Okay, so yeah, Terry is not grappled anymore since it like released him or whatever. So
Correct.
he's gonna go ahead and slink like through this thing's legs, go to the other side of it.
Well,
And then
that
he's.
was what I was saying though. You can't actually pass through an enemy.
Oh, I thought you said if you were small, you could.
No, my bad. That's what I was saying. It's like I don't think I should have said that because you can't pass through enemies, and these things take up the whole hallway because of their size.
Okay, no worries. So yeah, so Terry will just double attack it then.
Terry can
Yeah.
pass through friendlies without doing it.
All right, so the first one's missed, second one's hit.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think the halfling nimbleness, they have a special ability where they might be able to do that, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
I
makes
was
sense. I
thinking
did
there
have
was a
that.
class, but I feel like it might be halfling race. But somebody does, I believe, have the ability. It's just not normal.
Yeah, you're right. I had that with Sarkis. So yeah, it's uh 10 magical damage from Terry, and he's done.
Alrighty. So let's see. This one is yeah. I think sorry, Davros. Um, it kind of has reason to attack Davros. So I'm going to first attack on Davros, disadvantage. Second attack on Davros with a 9 should miss, and then it's going to try to bite. Oh my bad.
wouldn't it still be a straight roll? Because it's
No,
got
no,
he's
it is frightened.
oh, and that's not the one that had him grappled. You're right. Never mind. Sorry.
And then the bite as well is going to fail. The idea of these things being frightened is mildly comical to me, since they are effectively like slaves, they're thralls. But it's kind of funny to imagine that they're still trying to attack, but they're like trying to avoid looking at Gale. But yeah, those 3 attacks will miss as it tries to slash, and then bite into Davros the whole time, like slinking away from Gale, and it will go to Gale.
Yeah. Gale's the alpha.
Yeah, I'm just seeing like little, like kinda thin, bookwormish Gale, the very fearful one. Let's see. Yeah, firebolt in its face, hopefully. Let's see, that would be no, that's a 15.
15 is a miss.
I feel
Yeah.
like Gale's maybe almost projecting like an image of like an even bigger one of these things, like an alpha thing. That's what they're kind of.
My bad, real quick. What is your dexterity on Jinx, Justin?
Just like straight dex is +3 or 16.
Gotcha. Just a quick like look up. Firearms do dexterity. So in the future, it's that D12 plus dex.
Oh, for damage?
Yarp.
Okay, sweet, sweet. I remembered you saying something about a plus. I just couldn't remember what it was.
Oh, maybe that's because now we're proficient with their use.
I think the proficiency should just be for your to hit. Um, but I mean, I kind of always like the idea that you use dexterity because it's like making sure to put it in useful spots versus just hitting randomly. So I think it kind of makes sense both ways of how I was thinking of it. I think it's in Call of Cthulhu that firearms are a little bit different than like melee attacks. That I think melees get like strength bonus where firearms just do their damage. So maybe that's why I think of it that way. I don't know. I just always feel like firearms like should be like slightly worse than bows.
Yeah, I feel like I mean, using your dexterity for plus to hit makes sense because dexterity helps with aiming. But then I almost feel like the damage should be, I don't know, maybe a higher minimum, but like yeah, I don't know.
Oh, I definitely agree there. I feel like firearms are where I want to see like 3d6 instead of like a d12 kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But my bad. I think Gail, you took your shot with a firebolt and just missed its AC. Do you have a bonus, or would you like to make some arrow stretch with Bill?
I want to make some arrow shots with Bill. So let's see. He's not poisoned anymore, right? Not remembering that wrong.
Correct. Yes. And then after you, I think I'll cure either Jinx or I think the 7 should still miss. I don't think he. Oh wait, what? I think +9 actually works. Yeah, he can have flanking from the other two, so that 7 should hit 2 hits.
Oh, and he would like when that other one died, he would move the hunter's mark to that one. Once we get do that.
He doesn't normally use his bonus action though, so that doesn't actually like change his action economy, right?
No, that's basically what he's using his bonus action for.
Yeah.
Or 24 damage.
I wish I thought it was smart enough to know to attack Gale. Those arrows will like be like that first sign of it being in like a bloodied state as you like put them into like vital organs or at least where vital organs should be within this creature. And I believe that should take us to Neffy. She's just seen Gale and Jinx both make attacks that would require being non-poisoned. I'm gonna say odd is Jinx, even is Gale here to see who she tries to help. So she will cure Jinx of the poison with a lesser restoration here, and it will go to Davros.
Yeah, but Gale is a poison, right?
Oh yeah, wait, yeah, you just missed. Okay. I thought we said somebody was still poisoned, but I think Jinx was the last person.
I think she got Bill last turn, and then I think Jinx is the only one remaining.
So yeah, that was between Odd was Jinx and Even was herself. Even though she should have cured Jinx anyways. But yeah, she'll cure Jinx there, and then it will go to Davros.
All right. Davros is gonna keep. He'll swing away at this guy twice, and he is no longer restrained. I gotta remember that. All right. That is one. Oh no, I thought that was a 1. That's a 7. But the 1 will miss. 1 will hit.
Wait, what's your modifier with that 7?
It's a +8, so it's 15.
Are you including the +2 I give for flanking? Because I think that'll be a hit for you.
Oh, is it flanking even though no one's on the other side?
Oh, I think of it as like somebody else helping you. My bad.
Oh, I was thinking flanking is like it's like kind of from
Yeah,
two
I guess
sides.
yeah. Oh, okay, touche. Yeah, I was definitely kind of confused there because I'm thinking like rogues, you just need somebody with you. So yeah, 1 hit. My bad. It's late in the day. We're about to conclude this. I was gonna see if it was gonna die. Feel like I'm getting confused.
No worries. All right, so it'll be 15 damage.
Excellent. And then Seamus.
All right, so Seamus is going to kind of like moving underneath. He's going to use his halfling nimbleness to kind of like kind of again go through Davros's legs and then squeeze through this creature's things, and he'll
Gives
get
Terry the
flanking.
finger.
And he will go ahead and make his attack. But that will miss, unfortunately.
They should all. If one of them hits with a 7, they should all be hitting with a 7. The sidekicks.
Well, he's got a +6 to hit. I didn't think they're to hit scaled.
Their proficiency bonus does scale. So if he's got a +6 on the chart, that's with the level 1 proficiency. So I think they should have at this point 2 more than that, is why I think he should have a +8. And then with flanking, he
Okay.
should have a +10. So he actually hits better than most other people, probably because they know he's got the limited attacks. So I think I think he's got a 17 with that roll.
Okay. In that case, then we'll hit for 8.
Not going to do enough for a kill, but he's going to take it into lethally wounded. So Jinx at least knows. There's very few occasions that Jinx knows that he could potentially get a kill. And this is going to be one of those times. Jinx can recognize that this creature in front of you is lethally wounded.
Yeah, so Jinx is just gonna bonus action, finish his reload, and then he's gonna just say, "Do I really have to kill everything out of this party?" And then I'm gonna shoot it. Is it?
Solid. So you said you're +3. You need to get that's what you needed to get.
13 damage, right between the eyes.
All right, you do need to remember next time though it's a D12. You're still taking advantage rolling those 2d6 instead of
Oh,
a D12.
damn it! For some reason I
Um,
was thinking it was the 2 dice again. I don't know why I always think that.
But yeah, you can conclude today's session with you killing this. Where are you shooting this thing with the KO?
Oh wait, does it have eyes? Yeah, right in the forehead.
Yeah, I don't think these things actually have eyes. I think of that skull plate as almost being like almost a sensory device to itself. So yeah, definitely in the forehead. You're like, oh, you should have eyeballs, but
Right where the eyes should be.
I can't remember what these creatures are from that I like stole these images for. I feel like they're very like inspired by Aliens, the movies, like Ridley Scott, but I don't actually remember.
That's definitely the vibe I get is aliens. Yeah.
Yeah, I get kind of like Prometheus vibes from them, like the prequel.
Yeah. And I was definitely thinking about like when I described their mandibles, I like the God, what is it, like Blade 3 or something? They introduced those like weird vampires who like their jaw like splits at their chin.
Yeah, like the sewer vampires that. Well, yeah.
It's been almost 20 years, I feel like, since I watched it. But the moment I was reading about those things, I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna try to describe those as if they're like these bony, like crazy vampire like things. But yeah, let's pick up here next week a little bit over here. I have a feeling, yeah, you guys are gonna keep pushing forward to the Mithrak Rock Machine, and we will continue on from there. Um, you guys can essentially, once you kind of like have the calming of this immediate battle here, you can kind of see that like this hall is coming to a T. I believe it comes to a T, and that there's like a stairway up and then a way to the like your right, but the left of the map. And we'll kind of pick up with that idea of where you guys go. But yeah, appreciate you guys coming today. Let's forward. And I hope you enjoyed the, I don't know, like third or fourth time I've tried to introduce some HP Lovecraft into this universe because, again, spoilers, this whole place is a prison cell for evil.
No, this is great. I really like this whole thing, and then yeah, especially the whole, killing that thing and then having it, and then and then Davros throwing it off the side, only to see it start growing again. No, that was good.
Yeah, if that's not a railroad, I don't know what is. Where I'm just like, look, you can cut her, or she's gonna cut herself. But at some point, she's gonna start bringing the shit into this world.
Yeah. No, but I again, I like the idea that like she wanted Davros to just cut her in half because
Yeah.
she was
Oh,
like,
I had thought about how evil it would be to have her like summon a bunch of little creatures and get Gale to his first spell be like a fireball or something to like clear all these creatures, only to find out that he like nuked himself. And I was just like, no, just make it simple. Have her summon like two somethings so it's like a little bit instead of a lot. But oh, that room could have been so fucking funny with some of the groups we've had where like everybody's a spellcaster and you're just like, I'm gonna pull out my dagger.
well, and I especially like the Davros, especially the last thing he said before he cut her in half and brought, actually released the thing was like, whatever's on the other side can stay there. And then he cuts her in half and it's like, oh shit, now it's actually coming out.
Yeah, there's such wicked cool creatures in the Lovecraft world. Like these cultists, like to imagine that they're like playing with shit that they don't understand. It's such pure like invitation for Lovecraft to be a part of this. And I don't know specifically if Manu Cook was thinking about it with how he like imagined these cultists, but it was just one of those things where I'm like, yeah, this is where the shit's going. Well,
Yeah,
you
it was
guys
cool.
be
It was good to be back again, guys, after our long break.
yeah, I'm getting close to. I got two of the old videos up. I'll get the other ones up pretty soon here. But I'll actually have the videos like up to date